Go ahead and take it off.
Race fans, the 100% Cup Series welcomes you to the high banks of Atlanta Motor Speedway. I'm Andre Grant Bush, joined alongside Carlos Acosta, Cody Bird, and Corey Silva, as per usual. This is going to be a wild card race. Atlanta looking more like a super speedway than it used to. And we can see cars on track already figuring out exactly what the limits are as far as bump drafting. Ladies and gentlemen, you are in for a fun race. This is getting closer and closer to the playoffs. We are firmly in the second half of the season. Every point is going to count. Now, I do want to point out our graphics are going to be a little bit different for at least a few minutes. SDK is having some issues on the back end. Our producer is working as quick as he can to get that fixed. As always, Carlos, I swear he always has to double task and do all kinds of things, but he always figures it out. So we will get that on the way. But Cody, I guess I'll ask you first. What are you expecting to see with this glorified super speedway race?
While it is a super speedway race, I think we're in for a big treat here. This is probably one of the better plate racing tracks on the server, believe it or not. And we were treated in the spring to a side-by-side finish between Blake Giglio and Lucas Hoytsma coming to the line. So I think we're in for another treat like that again today.
I would have to agree. Now, Corey, you've watched your fair share of races here. I know that last year, I believe, at the beginning of the year, you did D2 for Atlanta, so you know a thing or two about how this show goes on. What are you expecting?
I'm expecting a lot of double file racing to the point where drivers will probably get frustrated. This place will turn into 2x2 the entire time back, and you'll see guys start to poke the nose for 3 wide, but I'll tell you, it's only 35 feet wide here at this newly configured Atlanta. So fitting 3 wide here is going to be a challenge, but someone's got to do it, and it'll just be a matter of who and when.
I agree. I think we're inevitably going to see some 3 wide. And last year we did see a lot of 2 wide. So yeah, you're exactly right there. And I do want to point out, so this race has an earlier start time than the real life race, as Atlanta in the server does not have actual lights. So we had to start it at 3 p.m. So the track a little bit hotter, I think, than it's going to be in real life. And while this is kind of a super speedway, you do have to rely on the handling of the car. And setup is very important. And if the track is hot and the car is slip sliding around the track, it's not exactly a hold it wide open and let the car do the work. You really do have to drive the thing.
Yeah, and you'll start to notice around lap 20 to 25 is when the tires start to fall off these cars. And that's when you're going to see the slipping. At least that's what I experienced back in the spring.
Now, I believe that our grid graphic is part of the thing that we have lost
Yeah.
to SDK's issues, but I do have the starting lineup, which I can read in a moment when I pull it up off of the Google Doc. So we won't have a graphic for it, but if you listen along radio style, you'll figure out where your favorite driver is going to be starting. It's Chad Gunningsman on the pole. He's been gone for a few races, but coming back in style. He ran a 31.137 to second place. Derek Heitman with a 31.153, so 200ths of a second separating the pole and outside pole. Dustin Hall is going to be P3, right next to Patrick Gitter. Matt Long, Matt Dicciani going to be 5 and 6. 7 and 8 goes to Clayton Hoffman and Matt White. Running out the top 10 goes Michael Christopher and Adam Benefield. Now, Michael Christopher actually filling in for Lucas Hoytsma, and they are, kind of working as a team to figure out how they're going to sort that out. But Robert Anderson is going to be P11. I would hand it off to one of the other commentators, but I don't know if they got the doc pulled up, and we're just going to rush through it here. Robert Anderson, Alex Murray, 11 and 12, Jim Schofield and Raymond Root, 13, 14, 15 and 16, Jeremy Miller and Rob Tracy. Kenny Powell is P17. He's next to Alexander Van de Sant. Trevor C. Ryan takes 19th on the starting grid, right next to Nolan Hodgson in 20th. Looking outside the top 20, Jamie Knopf, Cameron Stone, Mark Padgett, Andrew Dyson, Brandon Pierce, Dalton Mobley, Randy Drumhiller, Neil Pearson, Andrew Russo, and SOB, Sean O'Brien Jr. is running at your top 30. Now we got 6 more drivers at the tail end of the field. Wayne Grassy, Jason, nobody calls him Jedi Taylor, Tanner Marty, Damaris Hickenbottom, a former Atlanta winner, by the way, Alex Brinson, and Jonathan Delaney will not be in the race. I believe he has a fill-in, but he is marked as having a provisional, so it's either him or it's not, but either way, there's a provisional involved.
I do believe it is Jonathan Delaney. His name is appearing in the server, Andre.
Okay, so it is John. He took a provisional, so apparently he couldn't qualify because he was glamping, but he is back, and, it's been a little while since we've seen John visit Victory Lane. Curious to see if maybe this is the track where he can get that done. Lights are they still on? I'm looking at a very low bit rate stream here. It's hard to tell.
Admin did give us the cue for an additional pace lap, which we are enjoying right now.
Man, I didn't even have to rush through that. Damaris knew what was going on and gave us the lap.
But since we don't have a graphic for our weather conditions, I do have the back-end data to back up the track. The fact that you mentioned a very hot track condition, 81 in the air, 119 degrees here, this Georgia asphalt, 30% humidity and a 3% wind at, again, 3:07 virtual time. So hot Atlanta definitely is a true fact in tonight's efforts.
And I know that the setup really was important here. It's funny, these guys go to Daytona, Talladega, and they'll say something along the lines of, yeah, I just took last year's setup and I kind of tweaked it a little bit and I didn't really put that much time into it. Atlanta, I've had my ear to the ground and I've heard a lot of teams and a lot of crew chiefs putting in a lot of hours trying to get the setup just right. And that tells me that the handling, the aero, everything is a little bit more important than your average super speedway. Which, there, we got our track info right there. Our
inkling some real data. Back. Here we go.
There we go.
That extra lap helped everything.
Before the race even started, this is why Carlos is the best. We didn't even get to the green, and he got this fixed. He had to completely reinstall the program, and he got that done in time.
Mighty impressive, especially here, 400 miles tonight. Corey, we're in for a treat as we're about getting ready to go.
Yes, we are. That pace truck pulls into the safety of the pit lane here in Hampton, Georgia. And Chad Gunningsman is going to get us ready for some green flag action. Barney has the flag in hand. He's giving it the wave, and let's go racing for 400 miles at Atlanta.
And it's going to be double file all the way back through the field. We got a bit of a 4-car breakaway up front. We got about 4 car lengths to the next pack, but nobody really getting the advantage or disadvantage here. They're just kind of running in line and trying to make sure that nothing crazy happens. We do have one taker right beneath Bobby Anderson trying to switch lanes, and he is successful in that endeavor. But still too wide as we round 3 and 4 into this very wide tri-oval or quad-oval, I should say. Adam Benefield working the outside, trying to figure out if he can go anywhere. But, guys, I don't think these guys have anywhere to go. It's going to be a patience game right now.
Yeah, when you come to a track that this is this narrow You just got to fall in line, and with it being plate style racing, there's the potential for a massive wreck early on and throughout this race. So a lot of these guys are going to be patient, wait to take runs when they can get them, and not force the issue too early.
Exactly that. This is a patience game, and a line that I tend to use on restrictor plate tracks is intensely boring. That's something I say about Talladega. I think it may be slightly less boring here because you are driving the car a lot more. You are constantly under the stress of a narrow confines here. But still, if you are, say the 48 Matt White on the outside, even a Benefiel and Clayton Hoffman there on the bottom, or any of these guys in the mid pack, I mean, you're just riding until something happens and just trying not to get involved in something.
Yeah, I do like that term, intensely boring, because it is, from a driver's perspective, not the most difficult type of racing as far as just car control. But everybody's around you. You're boxed in. You got cars in front, you got cars behind. And the thing about that is it lulls you into this sense of safety, this false sense of security. And once you start to let yourself kind of get off the ball and you're not really focusing that hard, that's when the mistakes strike. And the problem with these super speedways is one little mistake can cause a huge chain reaction that involves many different cars. It's not like an intermediate track or a short track where you can just make a mistake, spin by yourself, hit the wall. No, if somebody goes around here in this pack, it is almost guaranteed not to be a single car incident. So you have to be focused despite how, let's say, hypnotizing the actual driving may be.
Yeah, and like Corey mentioned, with this not being a boring track, as he would say, in terms of that you got to actually drive the car. Throughout the spring race, from what I can remember, it was you were on the gas and you were looking for spaces where you could find them just because of this 2x2, 3x3 at certain points throughout the race, and you just got to take what you get.
Now, I do want to bring up some information that we did not get in our pre-race show. Our stages tonight be lap 60 and lap 160. So right on the cusp of what I deem to be a fuel run here, but I think we should be able to do that. There'll be 7 sets of tires on the wall and the incident cap being at 13 here on the evening. So we'll have to watch out for that with 2Xs and bump drafting incidents that can sometimes queue up those incident points. Things to watch out for on the evening. And akin to pit stops, we will not be utilizing the new NASCAR rules where they have to go that 90 mile an hour, 45 mile an hour stuff through 3 and 4. Pit stops right off turn 4. Ooh, someone down to the flat there. I think that's the 07, Christopher.
Ooh.
They're still trying to flail around him there.
And you got somebody else in the apron there. Ooh, 3 wide racing already. And as you alluded to, Corey, there is not much room for 3 wide. If you're going 3 wide, somebody's got to give. And we saw a few cars straddling that red and white line, which you never really want to do. But luckily, they were able to keep the car under control. Generally, that difference in banking would throw you for a loop, but he kept it on the track and kept it going the right way. And I think they got that 3 wide sorted out. I think after they saw what happened, maybe they thought better of that.
Yeah, and here, with everything going on with a plate race, you're going to see 2 distinct packs now, especially after an incident like that. You're going to see the guys that are going to try to get up to the front early, get stage points, and then you're getting the people in the back of the field, such as Tanner Marty, Damaris Hickenbottom, Wayne Grassy, just trying to ride around just to keep it clean.
And just to finish my point there, that was kind of separated there by that little mini incident that never happened. No pit stop turn 3 rules akin to what they're doing in real life. Pit stops will be directly off turn 4 at full speed, as done pretty much in the rest of the service here. So coming off of the pits into out of a pack into the pit lane, that's also going to be a challenge that will require a lot of communication by these drivers. If and when that does happen, I don't expect it in stage 1. Cody, I know you have a little bit more insight with the drivers, but I would imagine 60 on fuel under green, especially with all the lifting, should be doable for stage 1.
Yeah, 60 laps for a stage is going to be okay. You may see some guys, if a caution does come out about midway, stop and take the tires, just because, like we've been mentioning, with it being more of an intermediate super speedway, tire wear is a little bit different. It's not severe, but it will play a factor where you will see guys getting tight off of 3 or 2 and 4 and pushing up.
This pack right here, Michael Christopher trying to spearhead this second pack. He was one of the cars that was down on the flat that Corey had alluded to, and that's caused a bit of separation. If you look at the track map, it is two very distinct packs, and you see that happen a lot on these super speedways, and it does tend to happen pretty early in the runs. Not necessarily a bad thing, because if something happens in one pack, all the drivers in the other one are generally safe from it, so maybe a little bit better to get some separation. Michael Christopher getting a little bit squirrely off the bumper there with a little bit of a bump draft, and you will notice a lot of these drivers aren't very aggressive with bump drafts right now. I think it's two things. Number one, the track is still really hot, so the cars are really loose, but also very early in the race, no need to get crazy aggressive just yet. There are stage points to be earned, and you're not going to earn those stage points if you're in the hauler on lap 20, so they're just kind of drafting. But even so, even though they're not really getting aggressive with the bump drafts or anything like that, they are still really racing. I mean, too wide pretty much all the way through the field in both packs. Nobody's really content just to settle in single file and run a train around this track.
Yeah, exactly that. I mean, this is also a learning experience, but to the point of the track temp, I mean, I wonder how much of a learning experience this is, because the track temp is going to go down from that 119 probably until I would stretch to say probably even below 100 towards the end of this thing. So there will be more grip. Guys will be going faster, flat out for longer into the run. So not much of a learning experience here as you'd see at other tracks. And I also wonder, we are here for probably 3.5 hours. We'll be going to roughly maybe 7 sim time. I know it's not going to be dark, but I mean, not usually do we run that late with no light, so might be some awkward shadows and stuff as this track does get a little bit dark towards the end of the night.
It could be the case. The lighting may get a little bit wonky. I think 7 o'clock is going to be about 2 hours off the sunset, so it shouldn't be too extreme or obscuring for the drivers. But I do want to point out our pole sitter has kind of been going in the wrong direction. Not majorly, but just a little bit. He's back in 6th place right now. Right behind Matt White, and now he's going to get passed up by Dustin Hall. Derek Heitman was able to take the lead from the outside pole early on. He's not really looked back. Patrick Gitter has been pushing him. Has not been, I don't think he's too anxious to get around him. He hasn't really made any attempts at the overtake. Matt DiCiani, he has made up a lot of positions. He's up at the top of the podium, or not the top of the podium, the bottom step of the podium. And he's kind of moving in the right direction. So a little bit of field order shuffling up throughout the field very early on as we go on board on the 3-wide TV multicam. Bottom of your screen, that's Chad Gunningsman, the pole sitter. He's made a slingshot maneuver around a couple drivers. Now he's looking to the inside of the 21. Top of the screen, that is the second pack. And they're still trying to sort that out.
Yeah, and you brought up a good point about Matt DiCiani and Patrick Gitter on the top here, pushing behind Derek Heitman. If you look at most of these cars that are in that top lane, they all have one thing.
Oh, big incident.
62 on Pearson. Some debris scattering everywhere. First caution for cause of the
John
day.
Delaney involved.
I think I saw last year's winner, Damaris Hickenbottom, have some damage in the post office mobile as well.
John Delaney losing
queued up here on screens. Take a look at what happened. Looked like a good old-fashioned stack up there in turn 3, and then everyone just did not know where to go.
No, I mean, there was nowhere to go. That happened so quick that pretty much everybody involved just got blindsided. One of those things you can't really assign blame. It just was, as you said, the accordion effect, and you can see John maybe getting a little aggressive there, trying to work his way to the outside, but then that hole closes rather rapidly. There is Mountain Dew all over the track, which might give him a little bit extra grip, but not good for the driver, the number 6.
Yeah, and something else, too, from the spring. John went full speed into the outside wall in the spring. I don't think he's going to be rebounding for a top 3 today. That looked like that.
Yeah, we don't have tank mode anymore. It did look as though the 27 of, I think that's Andrew Russo. Oh, that may be a paint violation there. Of Andrew Russo, he really kind of was slow, and that kind of stacked them all up there. I don't know why he was slow. Maybe he just lost his run there. But yeah, John Delaney, he pulled off some masterful things, but with tank mode being disabled, I think it's just going to be an early trip to the hauler for New Hampshire next week.
That could be the case. We'll have to keep an eye on that. But it is caution number one of the night. We made it to lap 20, and I do think a few of those cars involved may be able to get on that damage repair and maybe get back out on track. It's one of those things where even if the car is really beat up and it takes a long time to fix, and when you come out, it's still not in top shape. You're kind of working with a wounded horse. You're so early in the race, and this is the type of track where you do have a lot of attrition. A lot of drivers are not going to finish this race. If you can get out there at all and just make laps, eventually you're going to start passing the drivers that have issues, and you're going to salvage some points. And we get closer and closer to the playoffs, those points matter more and more. So I would not be surprised if a few of these drivers don't take it back out on track and start limping around, which props to them. You got to have that tenacity, but also when lap traffic starts to be an issue, we got drivers that are off pace with damage. Talladega, Daytona, not too big of a deal. This track, being as narrow as it is, I remember lap traffic was a huge problem last year in the 100% Cup Series, caused a few issues, and I don't know. Do you guys think we're going to see some of that come into play tonight?
It all depends where the traffic goes, because, I mean, let's be real. Where is the preferred line here? Because I've seen, the leader choose to take the high side, and then I've seen them all snaking around the bottom. So if you are the lapper, where do you go? What I do know, and you don't want to be in the third lane here, because the third lane here is not easy to run. The wall does not kind of run at a perfect arc. So the third lane, if you're right up there, you kind of have the wall right next to you, then it goes away, then it comes back. So it's really 2.5 lane track, and going 3 wide is tight. So if you're the lap traffic, I don't know what lane you give them, to be honest with you.
There really isn't a lane. You just got to kind of hope and pray that you're not going to be in the way and go from there. It can be tough around any super speedway, especially this one.
Yeah, I would have to agree for sure. And Eric Heitman is going to be in control of the field here. And we're going to see exactly what he does. I'm just kind of surprised. He took the lead on that initial start from the outside. But yet, now that he's in control of the field, he took the bottom. So Patrick Gitter on the outside. We'll see if Heitman can do it from both lanes. The pace car is in, and it's a bit of a late jump, but Heitman does get the advantage. Not quite clear until a little bit further into the corner. He does get clear, slides in front of Gitter. He's going to get back to the lead. So high line be darned. He didn't need it. And it is going to be the same 1-2 we saw previously. The number 4 is going to be in third. He's been fighting for that position with Gunningsman and Matt Long pretty much all night long. It's double wide all the way back. Nobody's sorting in quite yet, but I'm noticing the high line does have a lot of speed. When our leaders get out front and they do start to get a little single file, they don't run the bottom. That's what I'm noticing. They are running the top. That seems to be where they're comfortable. So, Corey, I'm going to ask you, do you think they're doing that because the car rotates better up there? They're more comfortable up there? Or is it maybe a tire-saving thing? They don't want to be cranking on that wheel to get it down low.
I'm going to kind of combine both of those answers into one and say you don't bog the car down when you're down there as much. You're putting less wheel into it. So while you are maybe in the real world not using as much tires, not so much in iRacing, you're not bogging the car down as much. You're keeping more momentum up there, which does make the inside have to work harder, which helps the outside to keep and protect itself. You see it at Talladega, the inside can't get the runs because they're having to put more wheel into it. Same concept here, except more exemplified at Atlanta.
Yeah, I would tend to agree with that statement, and especially here, and we've seen it with this next-gen drafting package more so recently, that once you get one lane rolling, it is very tough to get that lane to stop rolling unless there's some type of momentum breakup. And right here, we're seeing it. It's still early, lap 25. These guys aren't ready to make anything drastic side drafting moves yet. Something else to touch on, it looks like our top 2 from last week are currently still on pit road. Neil Pearson has disconnected, and last week you may have remembered Andrew Dyson had the incorrect paint scheme on his car. He did lose all the points, but did keep the win in the stats, Andre. So that's an important little nugget there to keep in mind, that our last week's winner not looking too good this week.
So he basically got a hollow trophy is what you're saying.
Yeah, that's the way it sounds.
Yeah, so it does stand as far as, the history books are concerned. He won that race, which I agree. I would have understood the alternative too. I would have understood if the win was just wiped out of the record books. But I'm glad that he does get to keep it because at the end of the day, the wrong number. It didn't affect his performance any. He won that race. I mean, he was the fastest driver on the track, and I don't think anybody's going to dispute that. So I think when we look back at the 100% Cup Series stat sheet, it's good that his name will be there for the Chicago Street Course, and it's kind of a prestigious win. I know a lot of people weren't very fond of the track. We heard that in interviews, and we did have kind of low attendance. But at the end of the day, it is the inaugural street course in since the 50s, right? The Daytona Beach course was the last street course we ever went to in NASCAR, and that's not on iRacing. So as far as iRacing is concerned, for the NASCAR side of things, the first ever street course, and Andrew Dyson wins the inaugural race there. So pretty prestigious, even if he didn't get any points for it. Meanwhile, up front, we got the battle for the lead starting to get a little bit exciting. Patrick Gitter has actually migrated to the low line. Well, he did for a moment. He went down low, he came back up. And I don't think these guys are content to ride. We are halfway through the stage. Stage 1 comes at lap 60. And I've seen these guys get ahead of steam and try to make the pass, but they're just not able to do it. You got Hoffman on the low line.
Caution.
Oh, we got a yellow
on the
flag.
speedway.
Oh, big hit for Wayne Grassy.
And
That's
the
the
0-2
0-2,
of Mark Paget. John Delaney slow riding his way through there as well, but we'll get it queued up on the replay here in just a moment. All right, on screen right now. Let's try to take a gander. Whoa, 0-2 was slow, and I think that may have been Jedi who had a car on top of him in the form of a Wayne Grassy there.
Good space rating.
Yeah, that was a brutal hit. So I think that the second hard hit we've seen tonight. We're going to go on board with Wayne Grassy. And the 0-2 was checking up for the car in front of him. And then Wayne Grassy, for once, just an innocent bystander and gets the bad end of it. He's going to bring that thing to a halt down on the pavement, take the tow, and it's iRacing. You can fix a lot of damage. I don't know if you can fix that.
Yeah, no, Andre, and unfortunately, that's the thing with this super speedway type racing at Atlanta. The checkups here are a lot more violent, as you can see right there, and you really have to be paying attention the whole time you're out there.
Who is on the hood of his car? Is that himself and Jedi, that is, Jason? Because that would have been a very uncomfortable ride there.
Yeah, I think that was Jason Taylor as we went on board.
Literally, there's a face on his hood, or was in a pre-existing form, but either way, he has already since retired from the event. Him, Pearson, and Grassy all behind the wall for good on their way to Loudon, New Hampshire for next week's efforts. And now we are halfway through stage 1. Still have 30 drivers on the lead lap. John Delaney still being scored on the lead lap. He's methodically getting that damage taken up, 45 seconds here, 30 seconds here. And if there's enough cautions, you could get a good 10 minutes of damage fixed.
Now, I'd like to do an interview with Derek Heitman. If the lights are still on the pace car and he doesn't go down pit road this time, I'm going to pull him in. Can somebody confirm the lights are still on? Because, again, it's hard to tell with this pit
lights
road.
are on. Lights are on.
Okay, so if he goes by pit road, I'm going to pull Derek Heitman in. And we will see what his thoughts are. He seems to have a rocket ship, as Clint Boyer would say. That car's a rocket ship. And he is going to go by pit road. Give me one moment. Mr. Heitman, is Andre in the booth? You got a copy?
Hey, what's going on, guys?
Well, Derek, you've got a fast car out there. You've taken the lead not once, but twice from the top line, from the bottom line. Doesn't seem to matter. That car is just getting out front and staying there. How do you feel?
Feel pretty good. I hope that we can keep it up here and maintain track position, because the way the first 30 laps of this race is gone, it seems like track position is going to be important to keep your nose clean, so we'll just have to see what happens.
Now, we've had a little bit of attrition already. This is the second caution. We got a few cars behind the pit road wall already. Do you expect that to kind of be the trend of the race, or do you think things are going to settle down a little bit?
I think it'll settle down a little bit. I think we just need to get some of the squirrels out of here that are driving way too crazy with 229 laps to go, and they're just, they're just gonna end up weeding themselves out, and it should clean up. We should be able to get some green flag runs in here.
All right, we're going to put you back with your team. Thanks for your time, Derek. Good luck.
Thanks, guys.
Coming through 3 and 4 here at Atlanta, getting ready for a restart. Again, be Heitman and Gitter. Gitter was given some good bump drafts, good and dangerous bump drafts, if I do say so myself, but we'll see. They've been working just fine thus far. DeCiani and Gunnigsman in row number 2. Pace truck will pull off for, I believe it to be the 3rd time here on the evening. We're going to enter the Geico restart zone here in the quad oval at Atlanta. Get ourselves underway once more. 28 to go on the stage. There's the green. Let's get it going.
Derek Heitman trying to repeat his success on these restarts, and he will. He's going to get out in front of DeCiani and Gitter. He is all on his own. That's actually the biggest jump we've seen him get, and I hate to sound like the Fox broadcast. They say it every time. Don't get too far out front, but that is exactly why, guys. Look at that number 4 and the run he's getting. He may have a move for the leader.
Yeah, and something I kind of saw there, it kind of looked like they were doing the teammate strategy you may see at tracks like Martinsville or Bristol, where one guy starts on the outside and lets the bottom line in. I do know Derek used to have an alliance with EPI, so I don't know if there's still some relationships there.
Yeah, I'm not 100% sure on that either. Maybe we can do some back-end research through the Discord. I don't know, but that could be the case. And either way, when you come to a super speedway, I feel like alliances come and go. You kind of just work with whoever's close and whoever's going to get you the most benefit. And then as soon as somebody's not useful anymore and they're not really helping you draft, you're like, okay, well, on to the next guy. It's kind of like playing the old EA games. You just use the share draft with whoever's close, and it's kind of the way you got to do it. I miss the days, well, the one day where they allowed the drivers to talk to each other on the radio back in the Car of Tomorrow era, because the tandem drafting was so prevalent. That was fun, and obviously the drivers can do that here on iRacing. They can queue up on the driver radio, and only issue with that is that it's a public conversation, so you can't really strategize, you can't really scheme with anybody, you can't come up with any machinations that nobody else is going to be aware of, so it's not really going to be used the same way it would have in real life back in the day. But either way, we'll see what these drivers can do. Look at Matt Long right up against that green wall. I don't know if he meant to get that close or not, but that was definitely cutting her close.
Yeah, definitely. Like I said, you want to be very careful up there because it's not a consistent wall. Once you're up there, the wall kind of moves in and out. It's very imperfect, so can't really depend on that third lane with any level of precision. So got to be careful with that. But you can see up front, as we're on board with Matt Long on that high side, the leaders, as we talked about earlier, they're getting right on that outside lane, keeping that thing wound up. But I'll tell you, that inside lane ain't no slouch right now. Matt DeCiani in the 4. He's leading it with a head of steam. Clayton Hoffman in the 92, giving him a whale of a push there. The 22 of Alex Murray also tagging along down there.
Alex Murray definitely gaining some positions throughout the running of this race, and you really just have to be opportunistic. You got to ride around, watch what the cars are doing, but you can't just make a move whenever you want to make it. You have to have that door open up in front of you. You have to be aware that that door is opening, and you got to time it right, because that door could close just like that. Look at Patrick Gitter sliding down to the bottom lane. So for the first time in nearly 38 laps, he's not going to be helping Derek Heitman. He's going to be trying to pass him. Now there's a car back on track. That is the 41 returning to the racing surface after his incident. He had a car on top of him. He had grass all over his car, and it was not the infield grass. It's Wayne Grassy. He's back on track, and I'm assuming we'll see a few others file in eventually. But it is side by side for the lead. I think Patrick Gitter was tired of waiting. He knows there's only about 20 laps left in this stage. It'll be 21 when we cross the line. And a stage win is a stage win. It doesn't really matter what your affiliations are. It doesn't matter who you've been working with. There is the oh boy, there's the front end of the 41. That's the hood. What a magnificent piece of art that is, that Jason, nobody calls him Jedi Taylor, is running. feel like the grill is kind of supposed to be the mouth. That's fascinating. But to the lead, Patrick Gitter gets the advantage. He's going to slide up in front of Heitman, and he is going to lead a lap here at Atlanta.
Yeah, and like you mentioned with the bump drafting, the minute that Patrick saw an opening, he took it and went right to the lead using help from his EPI counterpart.
That actually was the first lead change of the event here on lap number 41. So first person to take the lead away is Gitter using that outside lane. But here comes Sticiani to the inside. Again, really working hard. They're really starting to get tight here towards 20 laps to go on the stage. Up, someone to the inside there. Purple and white car. Someone's on the flat there all the way on the back of the shop, but did manage to recover safely. Again, tight quarters racing here, fighting the stage. That was Alex Van de Sant there, had an interesting moment.
So Van de Sant definitely struggling here at Atlanta. I know that in his interview last week, he was not looking forward to this race, and definitely kind of showing why he didn't qualify all that well. And now that he's in the race, he's struggling with the handling of the car. And it is tough, you know, especially if you're a bit of a road course ringer like Van de Sant is, and you're used to that type of racing where you're more racing the track rather than the competition. It's completely different, right? This is a completely different beast altogether, and it takes a lot of getting used to. But he's back on track. He was able to save it. We do have a replay. And it was actually a bit of a bump from, I think, Nolan Hodgson. Got him down on the flat, and is he able to get back on the pavement here? He's got a lot of cars to his outside. His spotter's probably working overtime, but he did get back on the back straightaway, and no damage. So I don't know if he's got a real-life spotter or the in-game spotter, but definitely a scary situation trying to get back on the pavement there. You don't want to Kevin LePage anybody.
But also very grateful that when they repaved this place that they put about 80,000 square feet of pavement down there on the inside, about 10 lanes worth, as we have our first lap traffic endeavor of the evening. I think that's Jedi up top. You know, we're going to be squeezing the 3 wide all throughout maybe 10 rows of competition. It's a little bit tight there on entry of the quad oval here.
Definitely
looks like everybody's going to get through 1 and 2 just fine.
And it's definitely starting to come to fruition what I said earlier about the lap traffic making things hairy. And everybody's able to get around them thus far, but it's not an easy ordeal. And as producer Carlos pointed out, Jedi's probably looking a little bit like that driver biopic there. Not having a good time, but Patrick Gitter still leading the way. Derek Heitman, the roles are reversing now. He's pushing the 21, and Diciani in that 4, he is trying as hard as he can to make something happen, but I don't think the low line has the speed, as there's John Delaney back out on track, a little bit off pace, but honestly, looks like they got a lot of that damage fixed up, so we'll see if he can maybe slide into the draft here.
He wasn't a lead lap, he just lost the lap.
Adam Benefield goes around, Mike Chris, a number of drivers, the number 9, Alex Princeton. Let's see, can he keep momentum? We're going to go on board with John Delaney. Let's see if he can keep up speed with the pace, and he does. He's actually maintaining pace with the pack. He's only 1 lap down, so if the car really is competitive in the draft, and he's only got 1 lap to make up, I would not count John Delaney out, guys.
I mean, are we going to talk? I don't know if we're going to talk about the 3rd going for the win, but I mean, if he could pull that off here, then I just completely just throw in the towel and give up at life. But it's very impressive. You know, he must have taken a lot more damage, as he said, on that last caution, put himself a lap down, but he has a guaranteed caution coming in 12 laps. He's going to be the lucky dog, most likely. Has another guaranteed caution in 100 laps, probably at least 1 or 2 more for cause, I'd have to imagine. So, you know, nothing is out of possibility here. You know, 1 wreck takes out 20 guys. He goes from 30th to 10th just like that. So, you know, you can never give up at these plate races, as we've said many a time.
Exactly, and with the plate racing the way it is, too, it's going to be interesting to see what guys are able, that we see at these plate tracks run up front at the end a lot. Like Cameron Stone, we see drivers such as Dustin Hall, Adam Benefield, they're always there at the end, as you see Matt White backing off our Daytona 500 winner. So another guy who has plate racing winning experience.
In that latter pack there, including Brandon Pierce having to work their way around him, and they do. Matt Diciani to the lead, by the way. As we go to our 3 wide TV multicam, top of your screen, that's the big lead pack. At the bottom, Cam, that is looking back from the rear bumper of DeCiani, who was able to finally lead a charge on the bottom and take the point from Patrick Gitter. Now, that is the first time really all night that we've seen the bottom able to make a move successful enough to get clear. So maybe as the tires wear, a little bit of rubber gets laid down there. It's starting to change and a little bit more pace, who knows? But with only 10 laps to go in the stage, DeCiani currently leading the way.
DeCiani indeed leading the way. Looks like top 4 maybe have pulled away single file formation on the top of the racetrack. Nearly a 3 wide there. Matt Long in the 97 kind of opened the door. Thought Anderson in the Kellogg's machine was going to pull a gap in there. Oh, we do have a brief 3 wide. Someone thought about it. The red and white car, that's Alex Murray to the inside. So coming to the edge of the stage, these guys are starting to get feisty, try to get those spots, especially Alex Murray. He's in 10th. He wants a stage point. He's going to have to fight and stay in that stage position, if not try to get a couple more out of it.
And really, if you look at this top 10, look at the gap between them. From 1st to 10th is 0.6 of a second, so less than a second on track, separating all of the stage points. And 1 second overall could be the difference between getting no stage points or getting a stage win. So they are definitely shuffling up. Here's another driver coming back on track. I believe that's the 84 machine, trying to get that thing back in working order, maybe salvage some points. He's going to get back behind this lead pack. Shouldn't really be a factor, at least for another couple laps. But DeCiani migrates to the top line. He's got Patrick Gitter pushing him. Heitman's still up top, and he's got the bottom rung on the podium kind of locked down for the moment. They're 2 wide behind him. But Matt Long, Anderson, Hall, these drivers have been fast tonight. They're definitely capable of staging an overtake if the opportunity presents itself, so you can't get too complacent at the moment. Down the back straightaway, that high line starting to shape up and definitely starting to prevail, because now we got to go all the way back past Bobby Anderson to P6 before we get too wide.
Yeah, and you see that bottom line kind of fall back after they did get Matt DeCiani to the lead. That's going to happen a lot. You're going to see a guy get to the lead from that bottom, and that line's going to fade out here as we have 6 to go in the stage, so it's going to be interesting to see what happens.
That'd be interesting indeed. It looks like the inside having a little bit of trouble, but I see some guys back there, 6th through 10th in that Adam Benefield range, who are they're starting to peak a 3 wide. Benefield looked to the inside of Dustin Hall. Hall ran a little bit high. I don't know if that was to avoid a checkup or if it was to try and just make something happen. Benefield locking bumpers with Hall there into turn number 1, trying to gain some time back, but just unfortunately nowhere to go. Inside starting to close in a little bit. Now they're up to 3rd position on the inside lane, but coming to it'll be 3 laps to go in the stage this time by. That looks like that high lane is just going to be a little bit too overpowering, but we'll see if that changes.
I mean, we did see DeCiani take the lead from the bottom, so we know that it's possible, but they got to get shaped up. They got to have the car count down there, and they have to make sure that they are drafting straight. They're not weaving all around, because they got to maintain as much momentum as they possibly can. Right now, they just don't quite have the car count. The top is the place to be, so they have the advantage, as that is kind of snowballed. The more cars, the faster you're going to be, the more cars join. So definitely a self-fulfilling prophecy there when it comes to plate racing. But it's going to be 3 to go in the stage when they cross the line, and Matt Long is currently side-by-side with Gunningsman and Anderson. Anderson on that high line, trying to pinch that 98 of Gunningsman down just a little bit, but don't want to pinch him down too far, because if he gets squirrely and he comes up the track, well, then it's not just him that's going to have an issue. And whoa, big wiggle out of the back of the field. We just saw a momentary 3 wide. That was a near wreck. I don't know how those guys squared that back together, but Nolan Hodgson currently 3 wide, now back to 2 wide. Nope, now we're 3 wide again. These guys are fighting back here. The number 8 in the middle of it. He doesn't know where to go or what to do. Frantic scenes a little bit further back in the pack. And then up front, still DeCiani out of turn 2.
Out of turn 2 indeed. Pits have been closed. Under notion of being on 2 laps to go. It'll be 1 lap to go for the stage as we cross the stripe this time by lap number 60 out of 260. The stage points on the line. It looks like the top half of the top 5 should be all set, but that end of the top 10 where the stage cutoff points is. It is a boiling mess right now. Looks like Schofield in the 47. He is going to be the last one for a stage point as of the moment, but that will certainly change 1 or 2 spots either way. Entering 3 and 4 here. We got the shot on the screen. 76 goes down low. This is for the stage, but he has no help down there. Looks like DeCiani should be able to sustain. He'll get the stage, but they're flailing all over behind that. Don't even ask me where they finished after that.
Yeah. Oh, Adam Benefield
83.
knocking the right side of the car into the wall a little bit there. Hopefully he doesn't have too much damage, but they were getting 3 wide for stage points. Things got very hectic. Now, as the timing and scoring shows, and this is by no means the actual stage finishing order because that was a little bit chaotic, but it's showing DeCiani, Gitter, Matt Long, Anderson, Heitman, Ellingsman, Hull, Hoffman, the pace truck drifting around the corner. Takumi Fujiwara, thy name is pace truck. But then after Hall, you got Hoffman, Benefield, and Schofield. So that is very likely the top 10 of the stage. But again, everybody was so scattered, it's hard to tell. All I know is I am wildly impressed with that pace truck driver throwing the drift.
Yeah, he drifted it from like the start finish line all the way, or from the middle of the backstretch all the way through 3 and 4. That was fun to watch.
Yeah, pace truck here does have some magical powers, as we have seen, as everybody comes to the pits for their stage 1 pit stop. First set of good years on these vehicles. We'll see if there's any real shakeup here on the pits. Sometimes at Talladega, you'll see 2 tire stops. So far, looks like 4 tires from everybody. And Gitter will come out of pit road in P1.
So Patrick Gitter out of pit road, and in fact, Corey, I'm going to hand him off to you. Let's have a word with our stage winner.
All right, Matt, Corey, and the boys up in the booth. You got us?
Yeah, I got you.
All right, so a pretty decent first stage there, relatively clean from your perspective, up there leading a lot of laps, learning some different strategies, top, bottom. So overall, what'd you learn after one stage there?
Yeah, I mean, the top's dominant, but, you know, I gotta thank Clayton pushing me up to the lead, and then Patrick for working with me and sticking with me. But yeah, I think the top's gonna be the lane to use.
Now, of course, we're not fully going under the lights here, but we will be heading closer to sunset. Expect that track temp to plummet over the course of these next couple hours. Are you expecting any handling change or grip up as we close in on the end of this race?
I think the grip should get better. It's still pretty hot out right now, but I think it'll get better as the race goes on.
All right, and final question for you. Is handling a big factor today, or is it really just kind of track position and, you know, just knowing who you're working with?
It is to a point, depending on your setup, but, you know, you kind of just got to manage it. But, yeah, it's a thing, but it's not, you know, everything. But, you know, track position is probably just as important as handling.
Man, we'll see what you can get here in stage 2. We'll let you get back to your team. Have a good luck out there.
Thanks, guys.
Lights off.
It's Matt DeCiani out of the booth, and the lights are off on the pace truck, so we're going to be going back racing momentarily. We timed that just right as the pace truck heading down the back straight. Unfortunately, guys, the pace truck is not drifting this time. I really wish it was, but there goes the 41 trying to get caught up to the field. I believe he's getting one of his laps back. We can see John Delaney, P29. Sean O'Brien Jr., he is P24. Michael Christopher, Tanner Marty. Damaris Hickenbottom is P25. Keep an eye on that 00. You know, Damaris is not what I would call an aggressive driver by any means. Sometimes I would go so far as to say that he is an overly cautious driver, in fact. But the fact that he's won here before, I think, lit a fire underneath him. He wants to double down. And you may see some aggression that you don't typically see out of the USPS machine. But time will tell what Damaris decides to do in the meantime. It's all DeCiani out front, trying to back the field up just on the bumper there, maybe trying to create an accordion. But a little bit of wheel spin out of the low line. Patrick Gitter to the lead. He's clear before we get to the end of the quad oval. And Matt Long comes out victorious on that start, too. He's fighting for third.
Yeah, something I saw on that restart was Derek Heitman was right on the back bumper of Matt DeCiani, trying to get him a good push and trying to work together. but it looked like Patrick Gitter, they had that one down pat of what they wanted to do.
Good coordination efforts here, which you will see in these races. So we'll same kind of thing we saw. Top 4 or 5 will get single file up to the top, and the inside lane will have to switch and figure out different situations. Right now, looks like Dustin Hall to the inside with Heitman in the 76.
What happened to John? He didn't just overshoot his stall. That must have been a spin, and he came down pit road involuntarily. Let's take a look at a 100% Cup Series replay. He's got Adam Benefield who is outside. As he comes out of turn 2, it was definitely an attempted trip
this is
down
not
pit
the
road.
Charlotte All-Star race, but one would question that by that pit stop.
He misses it by 2. I mean, that wasn't even close.
I wonder if he got a penalty.
You know, that's a good point, Cody. Maybe he got speeding on exit, had to serve it under green, and just got a little bit too greedy. Now he's got yet another penalty. We might have a Carl Edwards situation going on here.
You'll have to refresh my memory on that.
So Carl Edwards, he got a speeding penalty, which he did not agree to. And NASCAR was telling him to come down pit road. He was refusing to come down pit road.
Yes.
And then eventually when he did, they gave him another penalty, and he was so mad that he just took it behind the wall.
Good old rage quit situation there. We've all wanted to do it. Now John Delaney did service his penalty there, a 51-second pit stop time. He's now 3 laps down. We'll head to 4 as the leaders are now coming down the front straightaway here, and I think they'll put him a lap down in short course. But again, as we just come through here, remember we get a stage on lap 160, so there will be a required pit stop during the course of this stage. One would estimate in the gap of about 130 to 140, but definitely you never know if a caution's going to come out. We still do have the vast majority, 28 drivers in this lead draft right now.
Yeah, and they're not slowing down anytime soon with the aggression. You're still seeing side-by-side racing throughout the field, and it's all in that space between Bobby Anderson all the way back to Kenny Powell in that top 10 where it's getting dicey.
Yeah, it's dicey all the way through the field. We've not seen a lot of patience so far tonight as we close in on lap 70. It's been a race through and through. John Delaney now falling victim to yet another overtake. He's fallen a lap down here. Another lap down, trying to let the field work their way around him. You see them starting to swerve and weave around him to the best of their ability. But again, when the track is that narrow, it can be tough. He may have actually scraped the wall. Now, as Patrick Gitter leads the way, I do want to point out we had a request from a driver who's not here today. The 25, Kyle Ammon, Mr. Moon himself, has a fill-in driver, and he wanted the producer to go to the cockpit cam of that 25 machine. He says there's something on the paint scheme that he wanted to get a little bit of camera time. Maybe we can cut to that in a moment, as actually it's not so single file now, because as we talk, look at that, the low line getting the run. Derek Heitman trying to reclaim that top spot. And he is not quite able to get there. The 21 is able to secure the lead. And actually, the 25 may not be on track tonight. So actually, way to go, Kyle Ammon. You talk about wanting camera time, and then the car's not even here.
Is it a different name?
So he was supposed to have Kevin Steele fill in for him. But that may not have actually came to fruition, because I don't see the car on track either.
Yeah, no car. So the Moon lied to us, Andre.
I mean, it's Kyle Lamon. What do you expect? You know, this guy, you know, he can tell you anything about brake packages and like race car brakes, but you know, doesn't even know when his own car is going to be on tracks. So thanks, Moon.
Got Pat Gitter on screen from his rear deck lid to Matt DeCiani in the 4. You can see the bump draft down the straightaway. He gives him his space in the corner. And now you see the 76 of Heitman down there to the inside with the 1 of Dustin Hall. Trying to get that inside lane back in. And once they get to that point, they can start using the old side draft game, as they are door to door here off turn number 4. Let's see if we have a lead change at the line. I think we will. Couldn't quite tell there. Graphics didn't quite update. They're going back and forth, but It did look as though that 76 may have got it, but side by side within inches here. And I think, like I said, if they play the side draft game, that inside may have a chance, but that push from DeCiani to the top definitely gave Gitter a little bit of a push.
Yeah, it's pretty much nose to nose as they work their way out of turn 2. Heitman trying desperately to get that advantage with the help of Dustin Hall, but the outside, DeCiani said it's probably going to be the place to be, and we've seen time and time again that it is the more powerful lane. You get a little bit more speed, and as you mentioned before, you don't scrub the speed out of the car. You're not cranking the wheel. You carry a little bit more momentum. The car's freer on exit. It's just better all around to be up there. But despite that, it's a valiant effort from those drivers on the low side. Dustin Hall, Derek Heitman. I believe Matt Long is a little bit, he's on the high side. He's right alongside the driver down low. So still nose to nose on lap 76. There is no single file. This is completely different from what we saw on stage 1, guys, because we saw the top 5 get single file, and then all the racing was a little bit further behind them. But here, this is just all the way through the field.
Yeah, I'm already seeing that these drivers are using their bumpers a lot more. You're starting to see the cars kick sideways, as you probably just saw on Derek's car right there. It's just a little sideways, and it's controllable. But as this race progresses and more laps get put on the tires, we're about 15 laps into this run already. These guys are going to have these tires fall off quicker and quicker, and that minuscule slide isn't going to be so minuscule in a couple laps.
Yeah, as the tires, we are in this stint right now. I think we are about 15 laps into this current stint. You talked about lap 20 to 25 being the point of no return, where the tires will start to give a little bit of wear. But as we talked to DeCiani in our stage interview, he wasn't overly concerned about the handling, but it definitely is a good thing to have in your favor here. As again, that outside starts to give a little bit of advantage to the inside, and a little bit of a bump draft down the back straightaway as we saw someone slow down the back straightaway there. A slow car gets out of the way. But again, that outside, as difficult, as strong as that outside lane is, guys, it's really going to be hard. We hear guys in real life talking about it being hard to pass here, but it seems as though that does carry over right into the sim world, with that outside being as strong as it is.
Yeah, definitely very strong. And right now, I'm starting to wonder if the handling is starting to change. DeCiani said it was still kind of hot out, but also we have been green flag for a little under an hour, closing in on the first hour of the race. There had to be some sort of temperature change, and especially the rubber being laid down. It's just the racing product has changed so much from the start of the race. These guys are driving a lot different. Looks like they have more options where they take the car. And as for the lap traffic, you pointed that one car on the apron on the back straightaway. That is the place to be, as Dustin Hall gets a little bit aggressive there, a little bit of a wiggle. But if you got to let the field go, if you can get to the bottom of the back straightaway, that is ideal. Unfortunately, so many lap cars are not fortunate enough that they get caught in that position. They get caught in the corners or through the quad oval, which is substantially less ideal. Outside, starting to surge ahead just a little bit. Patrick Gitter does get out to the solo lead with DeCiani behind him. We'll have to see if the bottom lane can use a run through 1 and 2 to close back in. They do. They actually get a good run there, battling for second place now. But at 5, Robert Anderson, he's kind of lurking. I want to keep an eye on him because he's been inside the top 10, but he's not really made any overtakes that I've seen, at least not any intentional overtakes. If somebody is off pace, if somebody opens the door, sure, he'll slide on by. But the aggression level has not been really high, and that's kind of Bobby's MO. He kind of just, he takes what he can get. He doesn't push too hard too early, and seems to be doing pretty good, so we'll keep an eye on him. But look at this, a charge. Dustin Hall, Derek Heitman giving a good push into the corner, getting a little bit unsettled, and the advantage is going to go to Heitman, at least through the corner. Can he hold it to the line? No, he cannot.
Back to your point there on Bobby Anderson in the 5. I have known him for years, and he is a very successful plate racer. He has been in many super speedway leagues to high levels of success, so he's right in his comfort zone here. This is one of those places that he could easily snatch one out and give him that instant lock there, as we do have somebody to the inside. I think that was Kenny Powell having some connectivity issues there in the 42, as we have our multi-cam on screen. You can see the leaders on the bottom half, and in about the middle of the pack on the top half of the display right there. As again, that gridlock pace lap formation that is now through the entire field as the inside is back charging for a battle for the lead.
Mars Hickenbottom on that lower line there. He kind of shifted lanes and that may be to his advantage. We'll see if he can pick up any positions there. Back out front, and you will see that neon yellow car of Brandon Pierce. He's picked up quite a few positions tonight. He's starting to sneak into the frame when we focus on the leaders here. But it is still Gitter, DeCiani, you've got Derek Heitman, not quite able to get it done on the low line, which is just got to be getting frustrating for these guys. They've been trying lap after lap. They get such good runs, and they get so close. You know, the 76 is able to get a nose on the 21, and then it just, the parachute comes out. The car starts rolling back, and that outside just takes a position back like they're not even trying. It's tough. That low line, not the place to be. And now we're starting to see a little bit of a 3-car breakaway. Matt Long able to slide onto the podium here, and these three working together really well. And one thing you'll notice, guys, too, out of these top three, not a whole lot of weaving. You know, they're not sliding up and down the track. It's not like you're watching a Caterpillar navigate the back straight. Being uniform like that, being as consistent and as straight-lined as possible, that is how you want to be. That's how you're going to maintain speed. A lot of these guys a little bit further back, they're weaving back and forth, and it's costing them speed.
Yeah, and if we look a little farther back in the field, I want to give a shout-out here to the corn machine of Nolan Hodson. He is up into 10th place, and he is looking good already in this lead pack, battling with everybody for a top 10 here as we approach lap 90.
And you practiced, Cody. You practiced. You said his name right.
Woo! I did something right.
Hodgson Field is, I think, what we'll be calling him. But, yeah, Cody got the name right. And honestly, I think I started calling him Hodgson. I don't even, you know, it's one of those things. But Dustin Hall still trying furiously to push that 76. Not because he wants to help the 76, but mostly just because he wants to help himself gain some positions using that draft a little bit further back. Brandon Pierce on the low side. We've got John Delaney 4 laps down. We've got what I believe to be, again, I'm looking at a very low bitrate stream. Sometimes it's hard to make out these cars, but there's Damaris Hickenbottom, Adam Benefield, Dalton Mobley. Now, Dalton Mobley nearly won this race the weekend that Damaris won. Dalton was, he was racing with you, Cody. He was on your bumper, and what happened, Cody?
There's multiple angles you can look at that accident. It was more so a racing deal. I pushed him in a bad spot and got him in the corner and kind of ruined both our chances for a top 5. But before that moment, we were both looking at a very good finish that day, Andre. And one of your drivers got into the wall by the name of Chad. So we digress on that.
To your credit, it was a green-white checkered, and you got to go, man. You got to push. And you got to trust that the guy in front of you can take that push. And sometimes, you know, you get aggressive, things happen. I'd say it was more of a racing deal than anything between you and Mobley. And it's the name of the game, man. These plate races, you never know what's going to happen, but you do know that you can't just sit back, right? If you would just rode around and not been aggressive and taken 3rd place, you'd have been kicking yourself. At least I know I would, for not trying to take the win, not trying to get aggressive. But Mike Chris, that's the car I was looking at earlier. He's to the inside of Mars Hickenbottom, trying to sort that out. Tell you what, we are on lap 91 out of 260. We're closing in on lap 100. Why don't we go to a quick Bring the Noise, take in the sights and sounds of Atlanta Motor Speedway.
Good.
And we are back from the Bring the Noise. Hopefully you enjoyed the sights and sounds of Atlanta Motor Speedway. Patrick Gitter's still in the lead. On the low side, nothing really changing either. Derek Heitman, Dustin Hall among the front runners here on the low side, but then a little bit further back, looks like one of the Dirty South drivers, is that Schofield, I believe, as well as Anderson. Gunningsman is back there as well in the 98. He's on the high side. And, I think Corey really hit the nail on the head earlier, Cody, when he said that it was going to be too wide all night long because so far, we're 100 laps in and these boys have not sorted that out.
No, and I'm just waiting for the 3 wide to start. Obviously, we haven't seen it quite yet. It's still not even halfway here at Atlanta. But with these battles getting more and more intense, we're starting to see some comers and goers through the field. We look at Cameron Stone into the top 10, making some moves. Brandon Pierce just outside the top 10. So there is opportunities to pass. They're just few and far between.
Yeah, they're definitely not showing themselves very frequently. The opportunities are not happening as when it is too wide, and the track is really only wide enough for 2 rows. You can't really force it 3 wide unless you are either A, absurdly desperate, or B, absurdly confident, or maybe C, a little bit of both. Otherwise, you're just going to try to keep it 2 wide at the most, and ideally, I'm sure these guys would like to get it down to single file, but you just can't do that. The high line is so dominant, but that does leave the whole bottom of the track where these guys are going to try to make something happen, and that's what we've been seeing all night long. Derek Heitman gets a good run down low, not quite able to cap it off. That's been the story for the last 30 laps. Again, stage 2 at lap 160, so we are probably going to see them pit, I would say, right, Cody? What would the fuel mileage be roughly?
I'm guessing we're going to see them pit right around lap 110 to 120-ish. That gives it about 50 to 60 laps and allows them to get to the end. And that's if you are the leader. Obviously, if you're in the draft, you're able to save maybe 4 to 5 more laps of fuel.
They definitely will be pitting then, and that'll be interesting. As Corey said earlier, it's going to take a lot of coordination, especially with these drivers on the high line. Look, the top is the faster way around the track, sure, but when it comes to green flag stops, you have to be able to get down to the bottom to get to the pit road entry. And if the cars on the bottom aren't letting you do that, they're not cooperating, well, they can pretty much force you to stay out a little bit longer than you want to.
Yeah, and that's the part that's always going to get interesting. Obviously, some guys in the field have the strategy, stay out longer, we'll hope for a caution. That's kind of what allowed everybody last year to kind of get the format mixed up. When that final pit cycle happened, the top 5 after that, it was me, Damaris, Kyle, Dustin, and Adam. So 3 guys that you may not see normally up there, but now some guys are going to pit earlier on, and if you wait too long and then can't get to the bottom, you're going to be left out to dry.
Yeah, and of course that could lead to calamity if somebody tries to cut down a couple lanes to get to pit road and they cut across somebody's nose, which, speaking of cutting across somebody's nose, contact between Dustin Hall and Derek Heitman nearly got Derek a little bit squirrely. He lost some time on track, but he was able to gather it up, and that just gave the outside lane a little bit more of an advantage. Matt DeCiani very content in his second running position. Then he's got Matt Long, Bobby Anderson, all those drivers. You've got Gunningsman, our pole sitter, a little bit further back on the outside. Gunningsman has definitely surprised me this race. He's not been very aggressive. He got the pole. We know he's got a fast car. He knows his way around this track, but yet he lost the lead almost immediately, and he's not driving super aggressive to try to get it back.
Yeah, and he's made appearances scattered throughout the year. I believe his first start was Auto Club back in February, and then I think we saw him again at Atlanta earlier this year. But every time he kind of does come into this series, he does run top 10, and he's showing it again that he does have the speed to compete with these guys.
Yeah, definitely a good driver. I mean, I've seen him in other leagues as well, and he's generally competitive. It doesn't really matter who he's up against or what kind of car he's driving. He's generally running pretty close to the front. Now, I may have a little bit of lag here momentarily on the commentary because I just loaded into the sim myself so I can kind of maybe make out some of these cars in the pack and do my job a little bit better. This bit rate is starting to kind of impede me, but as they work their way down the line, there's Nolan Hodgson. You talked about him a little bit there, Cody. This is a pretty good run for Nolan.
Yeah, he definitely runs really well at plate tracks. I've noticed that in the past. Obviously, Daytona, he was caught up in somebody else's incident, but that corn machine, it's getting powered by that all ethanol Iowa corn, and it's allowing him to get to the front here.
Yeah, he's not a stranger to the plate tracks. He's definitely had some success and seems to be one of his better driving styles. So we'll see what he can do. Just has to make sure that he keeps it clean. And speaking of keeping it clean, I kind of mentioned earlier how the racing product has changed in Stage 2 versus Stage 1. But, knock on wood, not to jinx anything, but this has been a much cleaner stage, right? We had 2 big incidents in Stage 1. So far in Stage 2, everybody's been pretty cordial, give or take. We've seen some overtakes. We've seen a lot of aggressive racing, but no big incidents. Everybody's been able to keep their car clean, keep it to themselves, and our stage winner, DeCiani, kind of alluded to it. He said that it was probably going to calm down a bit, and maybe he was right.
Save yourself to basically you got to save yourself to wreck at the end. So there's no point in wrecking in the middle, and even towards the stage. We're still 50 laps and a presumed pit stop between ourselves and the end of that. So there's really no need and no benefit to go put yourself in a precarious situation there, because there's so much that could change between now and the end that a risky move now really doesn't mean much in the grand scheme of things.
Yeah, and they've been out here already for almost 50 laps on this set of tires. These guys are going to definitely be feeling it. And if you kind of look on board with
61.
Chad, yes, sorry. Math was bad there. I was paying too much attention to Chad and the checkups. But you're going to see these guys really start to really get into trouble here with tires.
I just heard on the driver radio, Van de Sant got in the wall. He may have just gotten a little bit squirrely there, lost some momentum. I think Adam Benefield may have been involved in whatever just happened, as we did hear him chirping on the radio as
and
well.
Van de Sant just caught into Hodgson there in the center of 3 and 4, nearly forced a difficult position, but everybody does get themselves situated, and that will actually cause a little bit of a separation in between packs, with the 38 kind of being the bridge between the two, with Brendan Pierce.
I tell you what, guys, there's another driver on this inside lane that is doing pretty well. Kenny Powell in that 42 machine has picked up a lot of positions. He's running near Hodgson on track. He's had a rough couple of weeks in 100% Cup Series. He's had a few bad races, and right now he's trying to turn that momentum around. This could be the race to get back on track for him.
Yeah, and somebody else to look at on that bottom line that's a couple behind him, Andrew Russo, who's in a fill-in role for Ralph Hutchinson in the 8 car. He makes sporadic appearances, but so far this year, this has been his best run.
Great showing here, and these kind of plate tracks can definitely shake the field up and put some people in positions that they normally wouldn't otherwise be at other tracks. As next week we head to a Loudon, which will go back to a traditional skill track that also can lead itself to quite a level of calamity. So stay tuned for that. But still closing in on halfway in this. Oh, somebody's scraping the fence. That's Dustin Holland on the back straightaway there, causing a lot of smoke and a lot of flailing. One was wall riding there down the back straightaway, but not in the way that sometimes people do it for competitive reasons. Puts him all the way back to the back of the field.
That is disastrous for Dustin. He was running so well, and now he finds himself at the tail end of this pack, not even in the points for this stage. When it comes to the green flag stops and getting to the end of the stage, he now has some work to do. Going to take a look at a 100% Cup Series replay and see exactly what happened with Dustin, perhaps. So keep your eye on that number 1, right behind the number 5 with Bobby Anderson. Everything's pretty standard, and just into the wall a little bit, got a little bit tight, scuffed away that momentum, caused a bit of a scramble. Drivers going down to the apron to get around him. Great effort by everybody involved to get around him without making that bigger than it needed to be. very good awareness by everybody in the field, and good on Dustin for keeping it up in the wall too. We've seen a few times in the past of these plate races, you get stuck on the wall, you juke the wheel to try to get off of it, and then kind of just launch yourself down into traffic. So a minor mistake, but everybody did a great job making sure that it stayed a minor mistake.
Yeah, and hopefully for his car right there, it's not going to have too much damage. Obviously, that's great, ruined a lot of momentum, but it looks like he did catch right back into the draft, and he should be okay. But another thing is, looking at the rear bumpers, I don't know if we have an in-car shot we can look at with somebody right in front of somebody else. But it can be hard to see when you're in those corners behind those splitters. If you're tucked in right behind one, it's nearly impossible, and you can just drift up into that wall.
Here at Atlanta in the pack, it's hard enough at Talladega, which is about 60 feet. Oh, Schofield into the fence, got loose in front of the field. Let's go squeeze a 3 wide there with Taylor down to the inside. He went down to the flat to get out of the way, but again, I talked about it before. That outside wall here at Atlanta was essentially drawn by a kid with a crayon. It is not a perfect circle. So when you are up there, you really have to be very precise as to where that wall is in relation to your car, because it does jut out and make some awkward angles there.
From my perspective in sim, I've been keeping an eye on Randy Drumhiller in the 44 a little bit further back, mainly because the sight out of his windshield is just a scary sight. I've seen the drivers in front of that 44 go 3 wide a couple times, and there's just so much traffic up there, and he's kind of playing it smart. You notice he's not right on the bumper of the car ahead. He's given him, I would say, assured distance, as the State Highway Patrol would tell you, because if something happens, look, that's a lot of cars. It's going to be hard to avoid. He wants to give himself reaction time. And, Randy, he's a pretty smart driver. He knows that maybe I don't need to be right up on him. It's early in the race. We can ride around, see what happens. Alex Princeton, to his low side, largely the same mentality, just giving them space, staying close enough that they're able to be in the draft, but far enough back they got some reaction time. But there we go. You see just how everybody scatters in the corner. Some drivers way up high, some drivers run in the middle, some drivers down low. And that's just the kind of thing that you got to watch if you're the driver of the 44. You got to keep an eye on everybody. And a little bit further up, look at that, the 62 trying to make something happen on the bottom, moving around Cameron Stone. Looks like he might actually get that completed. But another thing I want to point out, as Cody did mention the age of the tires, guys, the low side was really good at the start of the run when the tires were fresh. But as the tires age more and more, it seems like the bottom's getting slower and slower.
Yes.
Is that right? Oh, go ahead, Cody.
And with us approaching, we're really close to that fuel window expiring. So these guys are on their last bit of juice, and they're looking for anything to try to get set up here for pit stops.
At that point now, lap number 60, and as you said, the inside dying, all that wheel you put into it to hold yourself down in that red and white line. Now you just don't have enough right front tire left to keep doing that. You're getting tight due to the tires. You're getting maybe a little aero tight at this juncture in the race. So that's perhaps why everyone's flailing around too. Not just trying to stay in the draft and make moves, trying to get a little bit of air, because Atlanta is a handling track. It's not a Talladega where it's just free drafting. Handling does come into play here, and you do have guys who need that clean air, and comes into effect as the tires do age. I saw some guys changing lanes, trying to get down to the bottom. I saw Benefield get down to the bottom. I see Hodson getting down to the bottom. I think that's queuing up for some pit stops.
Now this could be a big nothing, but as I scan through the field, I do notice that SOB has a little bit of left rear damage. His spoiler is kind of crinkled up in the air. I don't know if that's just from a bump draft gone awry, or if something a little bit more major happened, but he is further back in the field, and you're going to notice that Mustang tail light's a little bit higher than it should be, at least when I'm in sim. That's what I see. And I got to wonder, obviously it is a bit of a handling track, and the spoiler, when the spoiler gets moved around with the body panels and the damage affects that can have a big impact on the handling. Do you think that may be why he's a little bit further back, that spoiler being up in the air?
I believe he got caught up in one of the earlier 2 accidents. I did hear him talking on the radio, and I think that's what happened. But with this draft, I don't think that's going to be playing a major factor. I think he is just trying to set himself up for later in the race and be there at the end. Because if you remember Talladega last year, Andre, he was right there at the end and was so close to winning his first race.
Yeah, that he was. Now we do have the pit sequence beginning. We got a lot of drivers coming across the radio saying they are coming down pit road. Derek Heitman, Adam Benefield, Dustin Hall, and a whole slew of others, mostly the drivers that are on the bottom lane.
God, I can already see it stacking up there.
Oh boy, can everybody get through unscathed? Big slide out of a few drivers. The 8 through the grass, trying to get back on track. Can he do so safely? Yes, he can. He rejoins pit road, but it's going to be a huge penalty for the number 8. Man, oh man.
These guys maybe wish that there was some kind of turn 3 and 4 pit entry road akin to real life. Maybe iRacing will implement that next year. You never know. They finally did it with Bristol, but back to who is now leading the race. It's now Matt Long, and now that's a comfortable maybe 10-11 car lead pack now, most of which running in single file, now all of which running single file. So when they come to pit, maybe a little bit more organized and orderly here, as we are 65 laps into this stint. So be kind of interesting to see someone go the full length just so we can get a full fuel run metric here, but still ticking off a fair amount of laps here, and doesn't look like any other lead will come and peel off this next time by.
Yeah, I think we're going to see a few of these drivers stay out pretty much till the bitter end, mainly because the lap times aren't really that much slower on worn tires. They're a little bit slower, but not enough to where I think they're going to be too worried about pitting immediately. So we should get a better idea on the fuel metric, but a few drivers a little bit further back coming across the radio saying they're going to be coming down pit road. You saw them swerve to the bottom as we come out of turn 4. We'll see who's going to be the taker this time. Brandon Pierce goes to the high line.
Oh, God, some smoke.
Matt Long, Bobby Anderson, Cameron Stone, a little bit of contact to the rear end of Matt Long, or I would say Bobby Anderson, I should say. And actually, on who got into Bobby, that was Schofield, the 47. But no damage to the 5, so just a little bit of a love tap, no harm, no foul.
Yeah.
We're on to 9 who have yet to pit, and see if any of them peel off on this next time round. It's like Drumhiller, he'll be coming in by himself as a lone entity there, coming in very fast. I'd be very hard-pressed if he actually hit the speed cone there, but we'll take a look maybe at that with the 44 later on. He'll peel off into the pits, and that leaves now 8 coming to the attention of their crews.
Yeah, these pit stops so far have been exciting, but the biggest thing is they've been 95% clean. We do hear some drivers upset with how that pit sequence did go, but it is changing up here as we keep going.
Can confirm Randy Drumhiller hit with a speeding penalty.
Oh, not the drum hammer. He dropped the hammer too hard.
I think it was the inverse. He didn't drop the hammer. That's why he entered the pit so fast.
Yeah, that could be the case. I do want to point out that, we expected the pits to be a little bit chaotic, but we didn't take long. We've already got Damaris on the radio giving a chat warning to several drivers who were not too happy with each other.
Pierce just stacked them up.
Oh, no!
That's going to put Delaney. Delaney's going to miss the pits now.
Oh, my
07
goodness.
definitely
Hold
didn't
on.
get speeding.
We got to look at a replay of Michael Christopher, how he weaved through there. Tires locked up, smoke flying. I don't think he hit anybody.
But there's no way he got speed on there. There is absolutely no way he hit the speed on there.
He was absolutely speeding, but nonetheless, he didn't hit anything, and that's incredible.
Now, did Pierce make a call out, or did he just... Because it didn't look like he made very much intent that he was coming that time.
I didn't hear Brandon say anything, but it's not like Brandon to try to catch people off guard and be that secretive about his strategy, so I don't know if maybe he said something and it was quiet, or maybe the mic just didn't key up. Maybe somebody was already talking. But yeah, that was a huge miscommunication.
Not to get myself cancel culture, but that kind of seemed like the, watch out, everybody else, I turn now.
Oh, yeah, and you
and
are
Corey has been fired. Yeah, but that was definitely an abrupt turn into pit road. Nolan Hobson leads the race. That is a sentence I didn't think I'd be saying in the year of our Lord 2023, but here we are. Nolan Hobson, Dalton Mobley, Tanner Marty, these 3 holdouts refusing to come down pit road just yet. everybody behind him, Root, Murray, Gitter, these guys have all pitted, so it's down to these guys.
Now, Hodgson has the lead, and his chat compadre, Callie, is not here to see it.
No!
Oh, somebody's sideways. That's Tanner Marty.
And the caution comes out.
That is a
Marty
that's
comes
gonna
back
change
up.
things.
Marty came back up the track. I don't know if he got into anybody, but that was a bit of a panic call out from Damaris saying, hey, coming out of 4.
I think that was the good old 45-degree angle rule there. He was sideways enough when other guys passed him on the racetrack right there.
That was close.
That's algorithmically enough for Barney to say, put it on out.
To be fair, if I'm sitting in that flag stand and I see drivers coming at his door at 180, I'm probably throwing the yellow too.
Yeah, we all saw what happened at Talladega between Kyle Larson and Ryan Preece, and we don't want another repeat of that.
No, we do not. All right, well, we are under yellow for the 3rd time tonight, and we do have just 3 drivers coming down pit road. Everybody else is going to take their wave around. While these guys get it sorted out, we're going to go to a quick break. We'll be back for the drop of the green for the remaining 30 or so laps here in Stage 2. You won't miss a thing. And we are back for the Hotlanta Faux Hunt. That is actually the name of the race, by the way, I should point out, if you read the top of the ticker. Meanwhile, Dalton Mobley is going to lead the field to green alongside RJ Root. And behind him, you got Murray, Gitter, Trevor Ryan, Matt DeCiani, Derek Heitman, Owen Hodgson. This field got a little bit jumbled up from that caution coming out when it did. A lot of drivers had to take a wave around. But let's see what Dalton can do in that 77 in the clean air. Pace truck is going to dive it down to the bottom. 77 getting ready to go. Into the restart zone we go. Green flag is out. And it looks like it's going to be a relatively even start for both lanes. Dalton gets a minor advantage at first, but then RJ Root is going to get a good run with the help of Heitman, or Patrick Gitter, I should say. And it looks like he may get a nose. There's a little bit of separation further back in the field. Somebody got wheel spin. In fact, I'm hearing that a few drivers got a black flag for passing a car.
And they don't get cleared in this series. If it comes out, you deal with it. Whether it's correct or not, iRacing sometimes has its issues. So that is a huge faux pas there by those guys that were affected.
Yeah, you really have to have a lot of faith in the competition because, as we've said before in other broadcasts, the admins are racing, so we don't have a live race control. And so they can't really clear a black flag because, they might clear a black flag that's perfectly legitimate. And, as far as iRacing's rules are concerned, we just go by iRacing, it's the same you would do in a public lobby. And I don't really see anything wrong with that. But as our producer points out, Dalton Mobley playing on an AOL 30-minute trial disc, blinking in and out. I don't know what is going on with him.
Yeah, I mean, for those who were not born in the mid-90s, have no idea what that is, but basically it means your internet is absolute potato there. Or I guess, say you have 1 megabit internet and you have 10 people on the Wi-Fi. That's more or less the new age situation for that. But RJ Root leading this down. Now, I'm going to need you, Andre, probably Cody, for the stat on this, but has RJ Root won a race since the Bristol Dirt race last April? That's the last time I saw him in victory lane, but I didn't cover the second half of the season.
He did win Kansas 2, I believe it was last year. It was either Kansas or Las Vegas. Kind of same circumstances, I believe, as the Bristol Dirt, but he did win a second race.
He definitely, at least in this 2023 calendar season, where I have been around for the vast majority of them, hasn't been his 2022 self, but taking advantage of the strategy call there. He did have a 10.9 second pit stop, so a 2-tire and or fuel only, one of the two there. So a little bit of strategy call got him to the front, but has the car to do it. And as long as Pat Gitter is patient there, the 21 of the 4 who have been the dominant cars here on the evening, as long as they are patient, he can just click off some laps here. But lap 160 right around the corner, I don't think it's going to stay single file for too much longer.
So we are slowly finding out what drivers were struck by that penalty on the restart and which ones weren't. Cameron Stone was the first to come down pit road. You saw him on the camera a moment ago. And now Michael Christopher in the 07 also coming down pit road. So far, 2 drivers that I can see afflicted by that black flag. But time will tell. They're going to have 1 more lap to serve it if they have it. But I think it may have just been those 2.
Now our free passes, just as note as well. Clayton Hoffman is in the free pass spot there. He is in that lead draft towards the end of it in that orange and black number 92. Adam Benefiel is leading the second. Well, he's second in line in the second pack. So if Benefiel wants the free pass, he's going to have to do a little bit of work and get by some lead lap cars to get to his lap down competition here. So, and Benefiel, he going to do it if he can get to it.
Yeah, I mean, if he can get to him, he's going to do anything it takes, I think, in any race. And, that was proven last week at the Chicago Street Course when he damaged the left side, or he damaged the right side of the car. And his solution to that was, I hit the right side of the car and the steering got out of line, so I'll just hit the left side of the car too, and it'll even out. So.
But it worked until he overdid it on a subsequent tap of the wall. But the fact that it actually worked in any capacity, I don't know if that's a faux pas to the sim or if it's just absolute genius, because I'm pretty sure that's been done in real life in some capacity once or twice.
Well, and it just goes to show, that he is a driver who will do anything. I mean, sometimes you got to think out of the box. You got to do something that nobody else is going to do. And Adam and Dustin, both those boys for Team Conti, they're 2 peas in a pod.
All right, they're there. Here he comes with a head of steam to the inside. I don't know who are following on screen right now, but that second pack did catch the first. So now we'll have a bigger pack for the stage battle and also potentially have that lucky dog battle.
Yeah, and going back to what Andre just said about Adam and Dustin, they are crew chief and spotter for Michael Conti for a reason. Dustin Hall is one of the major setup builders over there, and they know what they're doing, and hence why they are winners in 100% Cup Series.
I want to point out a driver that we said was having a bad time earlier tonight. Alexander Van de Sant in the 96. He is the 6th car in line on the outside. He's 8th overall. His 2 cars just were able to overtake him on the low line. But he's inside the top 10. He's looking a little bit squirrely out of the corner, maybe not liking the handling so much, but definitely got good track position right now, in position to possibly snag some stage points as we get closer and closer to that lap 160 mark. not a bad recovery from what was a pretty slow start for Van de Sande.
Just getting yourself in good positions, making some learning, changes. Because here at Atlanta, I mean, you can still make some changes in the pits, but you can also make some changes to your driving style, changes to where you put the car, what lanes and positions you choose to put yourself in. And that in and of itself can gain you some spots, knowing the capacity of your car. And now he's right up there running on that outside lane, chugging along, but he's got someone in a black car. I think that is the number 40. I'm going to see it here on the resolution here. I think it's the 48 of Matt White behind him there, who is just poking a little nose in the middle, Is it for air, or is he trying to be the meat in the sandwich there? Time will tell.
If it's anything like the spring Atlanta race, he's trying to be the meat in the sandwich, trying to make that move. He did win the Daytona 500 this year, so he does know what he's doing, but it still may be a little too early for 3 wide here as we approach 10 to go in the stage.
10 to go.
Yeah, Matt White, he is a pretty solid plate racer for sure. And I think if he sees an opportunity to get some stage points and get himself some track position going into the next stage, he absolutely will take it. He's not going to be one of these drivers that's just riding around, but it is 10 to go in this stage. This lead pack is pretty stacked. There's a lot of contenders that really on any given week are going to be competitive. So really anybody's call as to who may come out on top for this stage. It is still Root leading the way in the 45. He's got Gitter behind him, who I would say so far has been pusher of the race. Patrick Gitter has been a solid wingman to just about anybody who does get in front of him, helping them stay out front and survive any of the challenges. But also, big shout out to Murray in that 22. He's been making that low line work, which not many drivers have been able to do, but he's got some help from behind. And
Speaking of which, look at him go.
Yeah, look at this. I mean, he closes in so much through the corners, loses a little bit on the straightaways, but he and his buddy behind him, Hoffman, they're no slouches. I mean, they've passed about 10 cars, I think, in this stint since we went green again, and they're making it work.
Now, you're at that position now, though, where you have to make a very informed decision. You're at a point where people are fighting hard for stage points. But if you fight too hard for a stage point, you get wrecked, and then you get very, very little points. So you can't put yourself in a bad position fighting for 1 point when it could possibly cost you 50.
Well, and another thing to think about, these guys both have wins already this year, so they're willing to push it a little more to try to get up there.
That's a good point. Oh no! Off the nose of Hoffman.
Commentator curse.
Alex Murray, what a save it was. They're 3 wide. Randy Drumhammer, Dustin Hall.
Everybody
Drumhammer
straightens themselves out.
The Drumhammer does it again, able to escape calamity. But that 22, that was a heck of a save. I thought for sure he was going straight to that inside safer barrier.
3rd to 13th there in that endeavor.
Let's see if we can dial up a replay on that 22 because that looked pretty bad from my perspective.
Beep, boop, bop, boop, beep, bop. We've just dialed it on up there.
Percent replay. Here on that red and white 22. It's going to get a bit of a shove from Hoffman going down the back straightaway.
Yeah,
went back a little too far. My bad.
That's all right. We're just getting the context. We're getting the lore here as to, what exactly led to this. There was a checkup on the bottom lane, which got him a little bit further back. And then coming out of turn 2, yeah, just a little bit of a bump and able to get that thing corrected. That could have been worse than it was.
Well, probably grass about 30 years ago, but these guys very, very happy that it is now pavement pretty much all over the speedway. Lets you make those saves here, but we've had a little bit of a spreading out effect here up front. Looks like 5 cars have peeled away. Now our lucky dog position now is in the hands of Adam Benefield because of that endeavor that slowed up Hoffman. Adam Benefield in a really good situation here to get the stage, but you can see just back there goes Hoffman on the outside. So that's going to be a good battle for the lucky dog. But it's only a matter of time for the 21 and the Ford to say bye-bye to that Ford of RJ Root.
Yeah, it won't be long now either, especially with those two having that EPI banner on there. And these guys aren't going to want to hang around back here for long. With 3 to go in the stage, they're going to want to make this move as soon as possible to make RJ Root fall out of the standing.
That's some slower traffic ahead. This will cause a little bit of more splitting.
Adam threading the needle, going to the high line. Just barely enough room for one car, and, well, he fit it. I don't know how, but we'll see if that maybe helps in his attempt to get Lucky Dog a little bit further back. Look at this scuffle. We got the 22 trying to make his way back up through the field. There's Dustin Hall. Now that is fourth position. Dustin is not a lap down like his Team Conti teammate. He's on the low side, teammate up high. At 159, so it's going to be white flag of the state.
This is tight.
4-3 wide, a little bit of contact.
Chick-fil-A mobile of Stone there, swadding them down here, coming down to the stage. I don't know what's more exciting here. We got 3-4 wide. Hoffman going, trying to squeeze 3 wide on the top of Benefield. That's for the Lucky Dog here. This is the white flag for the stage. Still 3 wide. Up front, RJ Root still in command. We'll see if Gitter tries to pull something down, but we have this amazing battle on screen there for the Lucky Dog spot at the back of the pack. And here goes Gitter to the inside of RJ Root for the stage.
Let's see if he can hold it. Now that high line can get a good run, but there's no draft help for Root. But look at
finish.
this.
DeCiani gets it at the stripe.
Wow, DeCiani sneaks by and gets another stage win.
Benefield does get the free pass. He snuck that away, barring that there was no 0Xs at any point coming off of 4.
That is incredible. I mean, just barely taking the second stage, sweeping 1 and 2. Patrick Gitter got to be beating himself up, got a little bit tight and missed it by that much. Nolan Hodgson third in the stage, by the way. Shout out to that number 12. RJ Root goes from first to fourth on the final lap. Eric Heitman, Matt White, Tanner Marty getting some stage points. Jeremy Miller, Dustin Hall, Alexander Vandesant are the drivers that the timing and scoring at least says got stage points. But in the meantime, while these drivers come down pit road, as they are going to have to pit, we'll throw it to a quick break. We'll be back once they exit the pits with maybe another interview, although we already talked to DeCiani, so we'll probably pull somebody else in. You'll find out who when we come back.
And you're hot.
All right, so we are back. Pits have been concluded. We're going to bring in the driver of the number 12, Nolan Hodgson. Bring him to the booth. Nolan Hodgson, you got a copy?
Yes, sir.
Well, Nolan, that was a really good stage for you. Finishing on the podium, getting yourself some stage points. That number 12, looking solid so far. How do you feel on track?
It's hectic out here. I don't think my heart's rate's gone down this entire race. Felt really good there, pushing DeCiani to that stage win, I believe. Yeah, just trying to keep all 4 wheels on the thing right now.
Yeah, you definitely sound a little bit out of breath, and I can't blame you. It's been very hectic out there. Now, track position's been pretty important tonight, and you've got pretty good track position starting inside row 2 here. What's it going to take to keep that track position? What's the plan going forward?
Yeah, it's the teammates is a big thing. Have good people to work with. Okay. Teammates are very important here still. Having good people that you can race with all race. It's always a good thing to do. Make sure you have a good line. Line choice is very important. It does matter which line you choose. Based on car performance. Just avoiding the carnage that is bound to happen. First couple stages have been relatively clean, so I'm expecting a hectic one here for you boys up at the booth.
All right. Well, we're going to put you back with your team. Good luck, Nolan. Go out and finish strong.
Thanks, guys.
Nolan Hodgson out of the booth, and you heard it in his voice there, just definitely a little out of breath, a little bit frazzled, so to speak. And that'll this kind of racing will do that to you. It looks easy, but man, you got to be up on the wheel. You got to be white knuckling that thing to make sure that you know exactly what's going on and that your car is holding the steady wheel. Otherwise, calamity happens quick. But Alexander Van de Sant got a really good pit stop. I don't know what
7.4.
So I don't know if that was a 2-tire stop or what exactly happened, but the 96 is currently leading the field. He's got Matt White to his outside. This is going to be a fun restart.
Presume 7.4 would be 2 tires, but I'd have to go back and do the recon on that. Maybe we'll do that if time does present. But pace truck is already in, and we're in the Geico restart zone, getting the field strung back out here for a restart. He has a bit of a gap, but I don't think that's what you want here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. 21 to get her down to the inside, White to the outside. Just a matter of time for the 21 and the 4 meet themselves together again, but they're in different lines now, so that may spread the field out a little bit, change things around.
So he's going to slide up to the top, which again has been the preferred lane, but early on in the run when the tires are fresh, you can make that low line work, and Gitter has done it before. That's exactly where he finds himself right now. Familiar scenes out of the windshield of the 21, trying to make the same maneuver that he made back in stage 2 and stage 1. I think he did it both stages. Nolan Hodgson behind him, as Nolan said in his own words, just trying to keep it clean, trying to make sure that he's got good cars to work with. And so far, it's working out pretty well. We're 2 wide pretty much all the way back, but we do have a bit of a breakup happening already, starting to get 2 very distinct packs forming, and we're only a couple laps into this stage.
Yeah, and something else to take into consideration here. We've been going for almost about 2 hours, and we mentioned the track temp. The track temp's only fallen 7 degrees since the start of this race, so not as much as a lot of people probably expected. And these guys are going to be slipping and sliding here as we get towards the finish.
Still a fair amount of this Atlanta Motor Speedway under pure sunshine here. I would think 1 and 2. Typically those billboards do kind of cover and shade 1 and 2 faster than 3 and 4, which is kind of in the open light there. So, but we have elapsed to 4:48 virtual time here. So just about 2 hours has passed, and my timer here estimates under 50 minutes of action here. So this will finish in quite some time if unless calamity ruins the end of this thing up. We'll see what happens, but these guys are starting to spread themselves out. Now running the bottom of the track here. Leaders have been running the top, but here they are running the train around the bottom. First time today. Oops, somebody cut down the apron there. Bought back of the shot. That was the 98 of Gunnigston. He wasn't to gain a spot there, but he's going to get bumped. And here's Long, and there's the 5 of Anderson there, sprawling down to the apron. Everyone does clear themselves out, and we continue.
I want to get a little bit of viewer engagement. I'm going to ask Carlos or whoever else has access to the channel to put up a poll, because now we have 3 super. Whoa, Dustin Hall, big sideways. He gets it straightened out. But as I was saying, now we have 3 super speedways on the schedule. We've got Daytona, we got Talladega, we've got Atlanta. Which, to the viewers at home, of those 3 tracks is your favorite super speedway? What is your favorite track to watch? Let us know. We're going to try to throw up a poll when we can. For me, I would say, I don't want to say Atlanta because I'm spiteful, because I liked old Atlanta when it was an intermediate and not a super speedway. And if I had it my way, this track would still be an intermediate. But as far as super speedways go, I really do think this track is far superior to Daytona or Talladega as far as the racing.
I would agree with that, Andre. This track has kind of grown on me. Obviously, I was highly disappointed when it went from the intermediate to the super speedway. But over the last 2 years, it's just the way it races. You are full throttle, but you do require a little skill around here.
Was that an intentional T there, Stupor Speedway, or was that a stutter?
That was a stutter. I do have a slight stutter every once in a while, obviously, but
it seemed like it could have been intentional though, based on the comments. I couldn't tell for sure. Now, my opinion, I'm gonna asterisk here, but by so little. The Daytona and Talladega bothers me that you could never get a green flag finish, like ever. Here, I feel like we've gotten at least once or twice, but I'm very curious how this track is going to age 3-4 years down the line. I think drivers are already saying it. This track, 3-4 years down the line, I think they're going to take the plate package off here and run this thing with an intermediate high speed, and this thing will be an absolute hoot. Because as each year goes by, this kind of racing that we see, at least in the real world, iRacing can edit things. This style of racing will become harder and harder to do with every year this pavement ages.
Yeah, it will. Obviously, wear and tear as these guys race on it more and more. And I believe Atlanta is one of the tracks that has all 3 series, so that's just even more wear. And hopefully it does age and the super speedway racing kind of fades out and we get back to some solid intermediate racing, and it'll take a while, but I think it will happen, and hopefully sooner rather than later. But look at this, we have a battle for the lead. Nolan Hodgson down low, Patrick Gitter up top. Nolan was securely in second, but things started to get a little bit shaken up as that single file became too wide. Matt White forming up with Matt DeCiani. You've got Derek Heitman, who led so many laps in stage 1, by the way. Brandon Pierce, who's just been slowly racing his way through the field. He was back in the 20s.
Hold on here. So Carlos has added a 4th option to our poll that is Orlando. Is that where Tiburon Super Speedway was in the EA Sports games?
No, actually that was in
Yes.
Maitland, Florida.
So what is Orlando then, Carlos, if you can...
Oh, that was supposed to be Tiburon. I thought it was Orlando.
It's a secret. We don't know, but Orlando is apparently a super speedway as well.
But yeah, just a little bit of trivia for you. The Tiburon track back in the old EA... Oh, we got Carlos. There we go. No, it was in Maitland, Florida, because that is where, within Tiburon, that the EA development studio was. It was in Maitland, Florida. That's why the default hometown for all the drivers in the EA games was Maitland. And if you listen to the pre-race intro for Tiburon...
In fairness, Maitland is a suburban city in Orange County in greater Orlando area. So.
This is true. Now also, fun fact, Tiburon was replaced by Dodge Raceway Stadium because Dodge Raceway Stadium is also canonically in Maitland, Florida. And the running theory is that NASCAR didn't like the idea of the video game promoting an unrestricted super speedway race because it was dangerous and a bad image. So they then replaced it with a short track to represent their studio, but it was the EA quote-unquote home track.
But then we get iRacing Super Speedway, so who knows what the deal is. Is John Delaney there to the outside getting split as that John Delaney now, 8 laps down. So any chance of John Delaney pulling off the magic record win, that is clearly a trash scenario right here. But 80 laps to go, guys. We got to put our strategy hats back on, at least halfway as it is. Is that Benefield in the pits there that I just saw?
Yeah, I think something happened to him during that last sequence. I heard a lot of drivers start getting on the mic there. And he was one of them. So
I just queued a replay there, and he had a little incident with the 30 of Jeremy Miller about 3 or 4 laps prior that caused him into that little bit of kerfuffle. So perhaps getting some damage fixed there. We're just at the no, we're still well out of the fuel window here. So must have been some significant damage there to the toe link or something for Benefield. Tough break for him.
Yeah,
he just pulled it behind the wall.
Oh, yeah, it's been a tough night for Adam all night long. He's been fighting a lap down. He just got the lucky dog, and then as soon as he gets the lucky dog, things go awry, and now he finds himself at a disadvantage. So he may have just had enough fun for one night, decided to pull it behind the wall. He may take on some sort of spotter role for... Nope, never mind. He just left the Discord as well, so will not be taking on a spotter role. He's an infield person there. Okay. Let's bring him up.
That's all you. I don't want to talk to him about Mad Adam again.
Mr. Benefit, you got a copy?
Yeah, no, I want to talk. I want to talk to Corey because he said he don't want to talk to me.
No, you yelled at me last week, so I'm hiding.
Yeah, I got you guys.
I don't even remember Adam yelling at Corey, but probably because I was too baffled by the whole damaging the other side of the car on purpose thing. But Adam, as I was saying on the broadcast there, it just has not been a good night for you. You were a lap down for a while. You were fighting so hard for that lucky dog, and when you finally got it, things went sideways again. Just what's been going on, man?
Well, damage. I guess a Dirty South driver finally got his revenge from the first Talladega race. Ended up in the wall, got toe link damage, got it all fixed, rode around, was able to fight Clayton and get back on the lead lap. And I don't know how many times someone's got to be told that they're blinking, and then when there's a checkup, they just drive through everybody. So yeah, that's what happened, man. I mean, we had a really fast Martin PC EPI Chevrolet, and nothing to show for it besides another week where we're putting it on truck early.
Now, we've noticed a few drivers blinking, probably more than usual, I would say, this week. Is it just a few drivers out there in specific that are having blinking issues and kind of causing these checkups, or is it just kind of server-wide?
No, there was 2 or 3 of them. One dropped out, and the other one got told probably 176 times that he was blinking, and I don't know, it's whatever. I'm gonna say something to get me fined, so is what it is.
Well, we've learned that those fines don't exist. You just lose media privilege altogether, apparently. That is something that we've learned here in the booth. But regardless, it's been a tough week this week. It was a tough week last week. But obviously, if you're Adam Benefiel, you're the best there is, plain and simple. How are you going to make this comeback?
I just start kicking ass, I guess. They finally pushed me to the edge of pissing me off enough. I'm going to start having to get up on the stick and show them what's up,
And we are going to, I believe, New Hampshire Motor Speedway next week.
Well, we'll start the week after. What's after that?
The week after. Well, that's Pocono. How do you feel about Pocono?
Oh, yeah, I like Pocono.
All right. So we'll be watching out for that 83 at the Tricky Triangle. Adam, thank you for your time, and sorry your race ended that way.
I appreciate it, guys.
So Adam Benefiel out of the booth. Apparently not looking forward to New Hampshire either. So just a bad string of weeks for that 83.
Yeah, and it sounds like he did curse right there, so who knows what's going to happen there.
It was one slip up.
Yeah, I know, but curse words, we got to be family friendly here on 100% Cup Series.
TV.
Yes, if that's our title.
Actually, we don't have a TV at the end of it. Maybe we should go add a TV at the name there. But yeah, next week headed to Loudon, which is another track that basically a New Hampshire, a Martinsville on steroids, or if you're really old, a Chicago Motor Speedway clone there. Very flat track, kind of one groove. We don't have virtual PJ1 that actually makes the track palatable to watch. It's a tough track. Everyone's fighting for one lane, and it does cause some issues, as I think 100% history has proven. So maybe that is akin to some of his displeasure for next week. But either way, we'll analyze what we got going on up front right now. Looks like we have a 14-car breakaway right now in our lead draft. And then we go back about a second and a half, and we have about a 4-car breakaway. And then we have about 5-car breakaway, and that's about it. We are starting to thin this thing out with attrition here. I think these guys are just trying to get to the end. No use wrecking on lap 190. If you're going to wreck, just fret coming to lap 260 where it matters.
Guys, earlier I gave Brandon Pierce props for working his way through the field, and I stand by that statement. But also, how about another driver who has slowly crept up the grid? Trevor C. Ryan in the 18. He's the first car on the low line. A lap ago, he was all the way up to second, although that top line gaining a little bit of momentum has put him a little further back. But nonetheless, at 18, number 1, it's looking clean, no damage, not a scratch to be found. Number 2, looking pretty solid on the low line. So Trevor Ryan having a breakout racer.
Yeah, and another guy to look at is Tanner Marty in 6th or 5th place now. He was just sideways about 100 or about 60 laps ago. Which brought out our last caution. He's back up there in the top 10 as well. So these guys are having really solid runs here.
Yeah, this is a good news thing for Tanner Marty if he can have a good run here, because he does run in a kind of a sister league of sorts that Andre and I cover on Mondays, and he has a good run here. He can apply what he learns to over there. So a lot of cross-league interaction here. A lot of these guys use that practice. That second pack is starting to put a little bit of headway into closing back into the lead bunch. That is Alex Murray, who we talked about having a podium effort earlier in the run, having that issue that dropped him back there. He is using Cam Stone and the Chick-fil-A mobile, who is not on the lead lap. Bobby Anderson also right behind there, trying to push them, and they're doing a pretty good job of that. Should be back in that lead draft in no time. 30 laps into the stint, guys, so pit stops probably in the realm of about 220, but the window will be opening. Effectively, I guess it already would be, but probably see these guys another 30 laps or so, I think, before we'd have our final pit stop, barring a caution prior to that.
Yeah, and looking at the field right now, this kind of feels like the calm before the storm, Andre. It feels like everybody's just kind of creeping along. They know that they're close to the finish, but before long, you're going to see that this thing's going to break wide open.
You know, it definitely could, but I also feel like we may be surprised by how clean this race can be. We've seen a ton of attrition so far tonight, and it hasn't all happened in one go, but really the last car on track right now is Jason Taylor. He's 8 laps down. That's P28. So under 30 cars left on the track. Everybody else has taken it behind the wall. The graveyard, including Adam Benefield, Dalton Mobley, Andrew Dyson, Michael Christopher, Mark Paget, Wayne Grassy, Jamie Knopf, and Neil Pearson. So not as many cars. A lot of the drivers that were blinking and kind of causing issues have kind of weaned themselves out. You know, we could see some chaos, but at the same time, I feel like these packs are getting small enough that these guys are able to be a little bit more tactical, a little bit more precise, and things aren't going to be quite as chaotic. But there is, I want to point out, and this is not good for some of these drivers a little bit further back, the second pack, spearheaded by Jeremy Miller in the 30. He's in P19. He's ahead of Jason Taylor, Damaris Hickenbottom, and Sean O'Brien Jr., who are, I believe, all laps down except for SOB. Who is really the big loser here, because this pack is losing the draft. They are losing time to the lead pack, and Sean is at risk of going a lap down by the time we get to this pit sequence if he cannot figure something out here, because this pack's not gaining, and things are not working out single file back here.
I just had a very clever alliteration that would describe the pack that he's in, but I would get myself canceled if I said it. But he's kind of stuck with the damaged individuals right now. So that's not the crowd he wants to be in, because their pace is that they're about 4 to 5 tenths of a second slower per lap than everybody else. Now, I'm not sure if he has any issues himself, which led him into being in this pack, or if it's just kind of how the cookies crumbled. But yeah, not this. He'd be better off trying to lead this draft and maybe get a little bit more advantage that way.
Yeah, and that's the thing a lot of times, too. You need, while it's important to have a good pusher, you have to be a good front car, too. You need to know when the gap is getting too big. When you need to understand, oh, hey, I need to make sure I get away from him a little and close the gap. But if there's a lot of damaged cars in that pack, it's not going to work out too well, and he may be in a lot of trouble.
And that's the thing. A lot of these cars in this second pack are damaged. The number 8 slid through the grass. I don't know if he got any damage from that, but as we've established, SOB's got a little bit of left rear damage. Damaris Hickenbottom's got a little bit of damage. The 41 certainly has some damage from his involvement, where he had a car on top of him. Jeremy Miller, not 100%. Oh, he does have damage. I just went to the hood cam, and his right front has been in. So a lot of wounded horses running in a line, and unfortunately, it's not a fast line.
Here, but lap 200 just on the board here. So now less than 100 miles left in the Hotlanta Faux Hunnet. We're using our southern accents here to say that, but it looks like up front now Gitter. Let me take that thought back. Back to Ciani, back there in 7th. Now him and the 21 have basically been gridlock caution.
The number 30, Jeremy Miller, involved.
Sean O'Brien has disconnected or lost connection to the server also.
It was It was a huge bottleneck in that line that we were talking about, all those wounded cars. So the 41 pings off the bumper, the 30 into Damaris, and then Damaris gets pinged into
SOB
the car
incidented it out. I haven't got to say that in a while.
Yeah. He hit the incident limit, and Damaris getting heavy front-end damage from that as well. Oh my goodness, what a view. What a camera angle.
That's the contact here, and I'm just taking a look here on my side of exactly what happened to SOB there. He got kind of sandwiched in between the 8 and the 00, and it was enough to send him bye-byes. So haven't seen someone get incidented out in a long time, but ever since tank mode's been disabled. But that is indeed what happened, and everybody coming to pit road here. What could be the final time. It'll be enough in the fuel window, but if a caution comes out towards the end of it, someone may choose to take tires, but we will be able to get to the end from this pit stop. So it'll be very important. No mistakes, no slide in the box. Hit the strategy, and let's see what happens.
Well, and one thing to keep in mind when it comes to taking tires is if I go and look at the announcement and just double check, if I recall, the tire limit was kind of stringent. It's going to be 7 sets behind the wall, which, sounds like a lot, but with the cautions we've had and the amount of times they've come down pit road, it's quite a bit. Anyways, we're going to throw it to just a short break as Patrick Gitter wins the race off pit road. We'll be back for the drop of the green. You're not going to miss anything. We're going to be right back with the Hotlanta 400. And we are back for the Hotlanta 400. It's going to be Patrick Gitter, RJ Root, Matt White, and Nolan Hodgson still hanging on to that track position. He said that was the goal, and he is doing it pretty well. Pace truck works its way out of 4. It's going to dive down to pit road, and we are going to see these guys back underway for what should be the final stint of the race. It's only, we're within fuel mileage. We're within the window for tires. There really shouldn't be a necessary stop unless we get a caution. So here we go. Patrick Gitter with a great jump to the inside. Down beneath him, he's got Matt White trying to keep pace, but not quite able to get there. Out to the solo lead. He goes in a, whoa, big checkup. He's going to go back to the bumper of the 45. That was relatively significant. Oh my goodness, that was huge contact.
Yeah, he was starting to get away a little too much, and when that happened and you check up even a little, that's going to happen. But another thing to look at, teammates are on the inside with Matt White and Alex Van de Sande.
Speaking of teammates, we have teammates in the infield care center. Let's have a word with them. Give me one moment. SOB and Jedi. Teammates involved in an incident just laps ago. Whose fault was it, boys?
I'll give you a hint.
I'm gonna assume it was me. I got to what's his name outside. I checked like I always did, and I just kept pushing forward. And I was trying to check back behind him, and netcode maybe. I don't know what happened. Everything went south, and
I'm gonna put my 2 cents in. For whatever reason, for the last 5 laps, we were checking up at the start and finish line. So I understand. I've done my fair share of super speedway races. I understand. Checking up a bunch of turns. If we're in a big pack. But I mean, the whole race, it doesn't matter who it's been. I mean, we've had 5 cars in a line, and I'm literally having to slam on the brakes because we're checking up so hard. But apparently, this is how it is. I've never seen racing like this. I've literally been doing iRacing since I've been 12 years old, since 2011. I've never seen racing like this. I don't even know what happened.
Yeah, definitely we've seen a lot of checkups, and I think because handling is a big factor, some drivers are able to carry more corner speed and some aren't, and those who can't carry the speed, they got to check up, and it's just not a very fluent experience, I would say, throughout the field. My biggest question is, Jason, are your legs okay?
No, I don't think so. We'll see what's up for New Hampshire, if I clear medical or not.
All right, so should I maybe bring one of the spare wheelchairs to New Hampshire?
Definitely got the teeth knocked
It's got the little controller thing.
Yeah.
All right, just as long as I ain't got to use no one power, you know what I mean?
Oh, well, we're gonna have to cut you short, boys. We
Agricultural,
got so many through the infield.
We like what we're seeing, baby.
We like what we're seeing. Thanks for your input, and we will hopefully catch you next week under better context.
All right, thanks, boys. Appreciate you.
So teammates having an incident.
He did some BMX jumping there over the Legends Oval ramps there. I think we got a replay queued up here. Matt White was leading. That's Van de Sant. Gave him a little push from behind, got him loose, and watch him over these little jumps over the Legends Oval.
I mean, twice getting massive air and able to keep it under control. I mean, how do you do that?
He's just that daggum good.
Looking like Jet Lawrence out there.
Absolutely. Jet the neck Lawrence. I mean, shades of Honda out there, and unfortunately losing a ton of time and probably falling out of the draft. I don't think he was able to get back on track in time to stay with the pack, so he's going to be relying on a bit of a caution to get back up there, which is a shame for the former Daytona 500 winner. Up front, though, nothing really changing as far as these scenes. It's still Gitter, Root, Van de Sant, Hodgson, DeCiani. These names have been up there pretty much all day long. Brandon Pierce as well. We've talked a little bit about him, but he's definitely showing strong. And, as we see Van de Sant blink out right there, I got a question, guys, if something's not going on with the server. Because I know Adam said it's just a few drivers that are, blinking in specific, but we've seen a lot of blinking out of a lot of drivers tonight. This is kind of abnormal.
Yeah, I haven't seen it. I mean, I've seen a couple same guys over and over, but things do change. But the one thing I took out of that interview with both of them, and then going even back to Adam, is for the most part, guys, this race has been very clean for the most part. But we've now talked to 3 or 4 drivers, and none of them have had a good thing to say about what they've driven in tonight. So it's kind of a weird juxta of, we're seeing a clean race, but these guys are not happy with the showmanship behind the wheel.
Yeah, and that's been an issue for most of the season. It seems like the respect level hasn't necessarily been there at all, as we see Alex Van de Sant making another charge for the lead. But it seems like it had cleaned up here over the past few weeks, and I don't know if the server, like Andre said, is having an issue, because it does seem like these checkups are a lot more severe.
Yeah, definitely severe, and I think it kind of goes back to what I had alluded to. It's just that this is still technically a handling track. There is off-throttle time, and if somebody's got an inferior setup to yours and they have to let off the throttle more, then that means you've got to check up, and when everybody's this close, it's just like on the freeway. When somebody slows down, you get the accordion effect, and that also leads into the attitude that we've seen tonight. A lot of drivers very frustrated, like Corey said. Well, think about how frustrated you get when you're in a traffic jam for 15 minutes. These guys have been in a traffic jam for 216 laps at 1.5 miles per lap.
If they do anything like I do, I say the same thing. I put my hand in the air and I say, hello, hi, and then that's basically it. Take out a Dane Cook's old joke book there. You just kind of shake it. I mean, I shake it off and move on, but I know some guys can't quite do that, and it sticks with them. and it'll affect how they drive the rest of the race when they kind of get in that mental state of kind of road rage, if you will.
Yeah, and somebody else to mention who's driving up through the field is Alex Princeton, currently in 11th place, or showing in 10th place. He's having a very solid run here today, Andre. Haven't seen much from him this year, but him and the Drumhammer seem to be working well together.
They are working well, and Drumhiller has been, well, he hasn't got the Lucky Dog Award, getting the free lap, but he's been a lucky dog, let me tell you, because he's been in and around most of the incidents that we've seen. I mean, every time we pull up a replay, he's in it, and it's not because he's actually in the wreck, it's because he's just avoiding it. And generally, you can't tempt fate that much. You can't get lucky that many times in a row, but he's been able to keep his nose clean no matter what, and it's showing in his performance right now. He's a little bit further up the grid, having a good points day. He's got a good opportunity here, and not to take credit or anything, or not to say I told you so, but when we went on board with Randy, I pointed out, look, he's giving everybody distance. He's driving smart, and well, hey, he's kept his nose clean because of it.
2 laps down, I think, largely due to a pit speeding penalty, if we're talking about Randy there. So that's still easily achievable. I mean, it only takes 2 or 3 cautions at the end of this thing to get all those back. And I mean, maybe we finish this green, but eventually these 2 wide moves are going to turn to 3 wide moves, and this will probably turn the way of a normal NASCAR Xfinity Series race. But maybe it won't. You never quite know. That's why we have to stay tuned and watch these last 40 laps.
So I do want to point out, we did have a chat that said, what was a car 8 laps down, getting into a guy's bumper and turning him? I don't know if he was talking about the 48 incident or the incident before that SOB and Jason were in. But in either case, so for the 48, the car that bumped him was not laps down. He was on the same lap, the lead lap. And for the Jason Taylor incident, they were all on different laps. So if anything happened between them, you can't really say too much about that. And really what it came down to there was, I think it was a lot of drivers trying to bump draft, trying desperately not to go a lap down, trying to overcome their damage. And sometimes bump drafts go awry. I mean, that's plate racing.
Yeah.
Bumpers are go ahead, Cody.
No, with bump drafting, and all it can take is just hitting the guy a little wrong on the rear bumper. You see it all the time in the sim. You see it all the time in NASCAR. Just the slightest little bump out of place is going to send the guy sideways and cause havoc.
That these bumpers are just a little bit off. They're not perfectly well, especially with the Chevy. The Chevy has that really round bumper, so it's very easy to hit it off center and then completely skew someone and spin them right in front of the field. There's a bump draft that's what we would call a scary one there, because that is not centered, but it does manage to keep them nice and steady. That is Gitter that we're watching the rear deck lid from, and getting that look to RJ Root. Bump draft right into the entry of the corner there, and he's still bumping him through the corner there. That is where I thought they gave each other space, but not quite here in the waiting laps.
Jason himself weighing in the chat saying he was trying to get Jeremy Miller back to the lead lap if possible. So that basically confirms that they were just bump drafting, and they were trying to work together. I don't think there's any bad blood there. It wasn't anything intentional. They were doing what they had to do. I mean, when you're that far back, you're part of the second pack, you're losing time. All you can do is get as aggressive as you can possibly get and hope for the best. And it's a product of the racing. So, unfortunate that it ended that way, but, so that's just kind of the way things go. Up front in the pack, we're still looking back to Alexander Van de Sant from the bumper of, I believe, Tanner Marty. And these drivers trying to sort out exactly who's going to take what position. But Gitter has just been so strong all night long. He's led laps. He's been a good pusher. It doesn't really matter where he's at in the field. If he's up front, if he's a little bit further back, he seems confident. He seems stable. And I think it's going to take a lot to take this lead from that 21.
Yeah, and something else to take into consideration here. If you look at 2 guys in the top 5 who we do not normally see in the top 5, Nolan Hodson and Tanner Marty are both still there. And they're going to be a factor here. Both are hungry for a win. Both have never won in both need a win here to make it into the playoffs this year.
Playoffs right around the corner here as we head into some very difficult tracks. Loudon, we head to the Indy Road Course. Watkins Glen right around the corner. Pocono, so a very challenging sequence of tracks here coming up the next month. And of course, winding down to Daytona to seal the deal there at the end of August. So if you can get one and not have to head into a plate race for your playoff mate, you would rather be in that position here. But guys, we are right at that point where I talked about pit stops. Actually, no, we already had that happen. I lost track of train of thought there. But get her getting that done, and I'm still waiting, guys, for the 4 of Matt DeCiani. He's been separated from the 21 now for probably about, I don't know, 80 some odd laps, and as fast as that number 4 is, he has not found a way to get himself back up to the front, working with that 21 and challenging for the front spot.
Yeah, he's definitely making an effort at it, but I think a lot of these guys are just going to hold their cards until we get a little bit closer to the end. There's really not much to gain by making a move right now. You don't want to show your hand too early at these plate tracks, and it is something that, did start to frustrate me in real life with these plate races, is a lot of these guys would actually wait too long. They would try to make the move in the final corner, and they wouldn't be able to get the car wound up to make the move. But at the same time, you don't want to make the move too early or too late. You got to time it just right. Tanner Marty, the meat in the sandwich, as Corey would say, he's in the sucker hole, going the wrong way. Everybody trying to get around him. Derek Heitman into the wall as a result of that 3 wide, scuffing away momentum. Here comes the 98, nowhere to go, looks high, can't go there. There's still 3 wide. Alex Brinson beneath the 29, 76 of Heitman.
That's Kenny Powell on the fence there in the 42, top of the shot.
Oh, some near contact. They're getting squiggly. They got the number 1 of Dustin Hall looking behind as well. Hopefully he doesn't make it 4 wide. But look at that. Derek Heitman scraped the wall twice, still able to carry the momentum to get out of that 3 wide situation. Good piece of driving to keep calm there, and they sort it back out to 2 wide. And as they're doing that, we've got a legitimate challenge for the lead. RJ Root is pulling up alongside our leader on the bottom. He's got the help of Van de Sant, the 96. Let's see what they can make happen here. Tires still relatively fresh, but the lifespan is fading, and the window to make a move on the bottom is just lessening every lap, so they got to make something happen quick.
Yeah, and looking at the intensity level, it just turned up, and the guy alongside Patrick Gitter is Matt White, who is a lap down, so he is trying to get his lap back the old-fashioned one, racing for the lead.
Yeah, White is the free pass recipient now, but if you can do it in the old-fashioned manner, and a caution does come out while you're leading the race, you don't have to take the lucky dog. You can catch up, get your lap back, and pit with everybody else. So it is advantageous to do that, but it's going to be hard to sustain it. But if he can manage to clear Gitter and maybe get in front of him, that'll put him in a good spot and put Cam Stone perhaps in the free pass situation. But to have a free pass, you must first have a yellow, and I'm not seeing it yet, guys. I think these guys are going to play relatively cordial, maybe till 15 laps to go. We already saw some 3 wide as a Brandon Pierce, commentator's curse maybe. He's a big squiggle there through the front straightaway grass, or front straightaway quad oval, but manages to save it and keep his track position, surprisingly enough.
That was a good save by Brandon. He's having a heck of a day right now. This is the kind of race he needs to get this season on track, and let's see if he can maybe gain a few more positions as the laps wind on. But this battle for the lead just not fading. The 21 trying to defend on the outside. Then you've got the 45 of Root pushing him, and he's just not quite able to get him clear, at least not yet. But that high line getting stronger and stronger as the tires wear. As for the moment, they're going to be door-to-door. A big wiggle a little bit further back in the pack. Couldn't quite make out who that was, but down to the apron they went. You say you don't really see a caution happening, Corey, but I'll tell you what, this racing is getting a little bit more intense, I think, than it was before.
Yeah, we have these drivers who are already, not happy with the driving etiquette that, we have thought has been fine, but, we're not the ones behind the seats here tonight. So if the driving etiquette has been of question to these drivers, it's not going to get any better coming to the last 20 laps, because like you guys said, you have guys who need these wins. You have a Nolan Hansen there. This is his best chance at a win. You have an Alex Murray. He's up there in 7th. Tanner Marty in the top 10. And really, anybody in the top 10 has a chance. And is Alex Murray trying to squeeze a 3 wide at the top there? He does choose to give Hodson a push instead. But yeah, when you have guys that need a win at a track that they think they can get one, they're going to make that move whether they probably should or not, because they feel like they have no choice.
Tell you what, you pointed out Alex Murray thinking about that 3 wide and very seriously contemplating it. If you want an aggressive driver, look no further than Alex Murray. He ruffled some feathers early in the season, definitely made some rivals with his aggressive driving. People thought maybe he was going a little bit too far, being a little bit too rough, but at the end of the day, he got some good results out of it, and from his perspective, he sees no reason to change that. So if he sees an opportunity to go 3 wide and pick up a couple positions, he's going to take it. And I tell you, he is beating the bumper of that number 12 car, pushing him in every possible chance. And here he goes. As we said, 3 wide, the 12 car up top, losing momentum, contact. The 22 and the 12 hooked together, but they're able to get separated before disaster happens. Still 3 wide. The 76 now, car in front, car behind, car high, car low. There's nowhere for Heitman to go.
Yeah, this is absolutely incredible racing here, Corey. These guys are side by side with nowhere to go and somehow stay out of the wall. And all through that, if you look in the top 10, 8 or 9 of these guys, they need a win here just to save their season and make it back into the top 25 for a charter next season as well.
Yeah, I mean, what did we see last year in this very race? We saw Damaris Hickenbottom absolute out of nowhere. No one expected him to get a dub, but he managed to pull it off here and kind of change the playoff picture. Now you have Gitter up front, who obviously is in not much of a concern there. RJ Root could use the win, but I think he may be okay to put himself in. But Brandon Pierce, he could use this win. Diciani, you know, he's up there. But look at Tanner Marty. He's making some headway on the inside. Hoffman there to the inside. So and here we go, 3 wide. Murray, he thought about it last time. He executes this time by going to the top, putting Diciani meat in the sandwich here. And Diciani's going to make a little bit of contact there. Someone, 98, blinking out. That's Chad Gunningsman.
Everybody had to check up. That slowed down the number 1. Now Dustin Hall, the middle of the 3 wide with Randy Drumhiller and Nolan Hodgson. Cam trying to slip by. The 1 is in the sucker hole. He's going backwards. And he is going to try to get back around Hodgson.
Saw some smoke. 96 all the way down to the flat there, all the way down to the infield grass. Manages to rein it back in once more.
Brandon Pierce just lost a ton of time because of that. He checked up. So that is going to be very costly. Not too many laps left in this race.
Yeah, I don't know if we can get a replay of that with Van de Sant, but he basically had, that's the second time he's had that exact same incident, using every last bit of real estate there in the quad oval, but luckily only dropped down to the 6th position. And replay is now queuing up here on display for you. There to watch him in that purple and white car off turn number 4, the push, and using every last bit of pavement down there. He probably had to check up to avoid a penalty, because he probably wasn't even going to lose that much speed if he stayed flat, to be honest. Oh no, now he's dead. 38.
Oh no! Brandon Pierce into the outside wall.
Yeah, Brandon Pierce there on the back straightaway. There was a 3 wide move, and spatial awareness went bad, at least from one angle I saw. We'll get the angle that Carlos provides us here off turn number 2. Right there. Yeah, someone came up, someone came down. We might have to get a top down to...
Yeah, that's a tough one. Before that happened, though, well, here we go. Blimp cam. What does it reveal? It's kind of far away. Here's a better angle of it.
Yeah, from this perspective.
Yeah, a little bit of netcode, a little bit of Brandon coming up the track. Yeah.
I mean, could Marty have been higher? Yes. Could Pierce have stayed lower? Yes.
And there goes Drumhiller again. Where is the golden horseshoe in that 44? How has he gotten through every single incident? Oh my goodness, man, he's nailing it today with the wreck avoidance.
If he just didn't get that speeding penalty, you know, this would all be prospering for him. But he still, unfortunately, is 2 laps down in the 44. But with attrition, he can keep picking a couple off.
Before that happened,
you have pit stops, by the way.
Polar Mania in chat was reacting to Van de Sant, said incredible save by the 96. I agree, that was a great save by the 96, and that's not the first time he's done that tonight either. He's he's been wheeling that thing one way or another. He has been driving that thing, but a lot of cars down pit road, taking fresh tires. Can't really blame them. Again, handling is a factor. So if they got sets on the wall, which they should have, Carlos went and kind of looked at the back end data, and a lot of these guys before this had only been down pit road 4 or 5 times. So with 7 sets behind the wall, absolutely had some left over. No reason not to take tires, but definitely shakes things up, guys, because when we go green, it's going to be about 14 laps to go. And still a lot of drivers up front that want this win. Trevor Ryan, Derek Heitman, RJ Root, Hoffman, Gunningsman, Hodgson is in 10th. These guys want wins, and I don't think we're going to see much patience.
I think patience is out the window. 16 laps to go. We kind of saw this last year and in the spring where it got to this point and all heck just broke loose. And I think we're about to experience that again.
I mean, if you look at the top 10, in all sincerity, the only guys up there that you expect to see, in victory lane based on what we've seen this season is maybe Gitter. Van de Sande has had some good runs, not really a winner, on a regular basis, but you see him up front. But really, it's been Gitter and maybe Heitman. Everybody else hasn't really been a winner, winning speed all season, but they're all in that top 10 trying to take advantage of an opportunity here. And, if you're Gitter, you're looking in that rear view and you're like, all right, who am I working with? Do I got some Chevys? I got Dustin Hall. I got a Chevy behind me. What kind of alliances do I have? Because again, the guy he's been working with all race isn't there to help him right now. And a lot of different manufacturers there, which usually leads to guys that aren't going to work with you.
Yeah, and looking through this field, and especially with the way that we've been racing within the last 10, 20 laps, I feel like almost everybody has traded paint with everybody. Like, everybody's rubbed everybody the wrong way, pinching them high, pinching them low, going 3 wide. There's not too many people in the field, I think, that are very happy with each other at this point, and listening into the driver radio is evidence of that. So that just kind of adds to the whole every man for themselves vibe that I think we're going to get with this restart.
Yeah, I think that is definitely the name of the game here. Every man for himself here, because you have 14 laps to go at the Atlanta Motor Speedway. Will it be green, or will we have some more restarts? Time will tell. But the pace truck is already in. Get her in the Geico restart zone. Gets on that loud pedal. I'll tell you, they must have had some coordination, because Hall was timing that to perfection. Gets them both out of there on a really good gap there. Entering turn 1, and look at RJ Root splitting the gap there. He's going to go straight to third with Van de Sande and Murray getting split.
We're seeing teammates starting to work together here. You got the 2 Team Conti guys, and then 3 of the Root, Heitman and Murray working together. They're all hungry to try to get up to the front.
Nolan Hodgson just split a 3-wide situation, gained a couple of positions. Now he's on the low line. High line currently the dominant one, formed up a little bit better. But yes, there was a lot of coordination on that restart between Dustin Hall and Patrick Gitter. They are teammates over at Team Conti right now. So they were probably on the radio counting down. And now Dustin Hall, his only job right now is keep that 21 clear at least until the last lap. At that point, try to take the lead for yourself. But look at Nolan Hodgson. He was 9th. A moment ago, he was 9th, and now he is in the lead. Where did he come from?
What is happening? Nolan Hodgson shot out of a cannon, and he was on Prodigy earlier in the year. And Alex Murray has pushed him back up to the front, battling for the win here with 12 to go.
I mean,
Hall is squabbling. He's all over the place. Now they're 3 wide. They're bouncing doors here in the center of 3 and 4, 3 by 3. And here's some contact. Heitman, there we go. Hall's dead.
Heitman sideways. It's it. Dustin Hall into the wall. Caution flag is out. Nolan Hodgson was the leader at the time of the yellow. What was that restart? I mean, I can't get over Nolan. He was 10 car lengths back. I didn't finish my sentence, and he was in the lead.
Pulled the NOS card.
He did?
Look at there. You can see it's understated here how tight you get in 3 and 4 here. Obviously 1 and 2, it has the arc to the entry with the quad oval, but turn 3, you really have to put wheel into it. So as the middle car there, very hard to hold your line. He probably just didn't want to lift naturally at this point in the race. Did the 1 caused him to slide up there into the 76, and that's what kind of caused them to kind of dale the fence there. Untasteful reference there. Sorry about that. But either way, some wrecked race cars here coming in at 10 to go, and hopefully we don't wreck too many more.
Now, that was the wreck. I'm going to make a request to producer Carlos. Can we go on board with the 12 prior to that and just see that run that Alex Murray gave him? I got to get a better perspective on how exactly they just gained 200 horsepower because that was something. Also, I do have to say that is heartbreaking for the drivers involved because both those drivers, Dustin Hall, Derek Heitman, they were incredibly quick. This is actually after they started the run. So it would have started a little bit before then. Let's go. We're going to go back in time. It's hip to be square. Here we go.
Right about here is probably good.
Right about here. He's all the way back. He was being scored in 9th when I looked.
Now look at all that separation on the top. So that's going to lead to it because he has that solid push right behind him at this moment. A lot of space up there on the top. And then you're going to watch here in turn 3 and 4. You're going to watch
look at
them
this.
separate.
Afterburners activate.
1 and the 21 separated there. That really slowed them up because they're kind of like changing lanes there to an extent. And because of that solid push that he got, it just kept him going.
Unbelievable. But yeah, Dustin Hall likely out of the event. It was a hard hit. And Derek Heitman, probably not out, but definitely damaged and not a great track position for how few laps are remaining. Another incident further back, Bobby Anderson got tagged, I believe by Tanner Marty. He got down onto the apron and then was able to recover. But, I mean, that was just incidents all throughout the field. We were looking up ahead at Dustin Hall, but that was going on further back even.
Yeah, and something else. One thing, Andre, can you say deja vu to last year? Almost setting up exactly like that.
Very similar.
And then 2, being in the middle 3 wide here is not a fun situation. You're getting pulled both sides, and it just takes one misstep. But something to look at here now, Alex Murray has his teammate in RJ Root, and then Nolan Hodson has Patrick Gitter to his bumper. They do work together through EPI, so this is about to get insane.
In the membrane. To cue a concert from the LA Coliseum race here, but on 1 lap to go, entering turn number 3. So, guys, is this it? We going to the end, or are we going to rack and stack them again?
I don't think we're going to get to the end. At least 1 more yellow, maybe 2.
All right, a quick call here. Take your pick. I'm going 21.
I'm going Nolan Hodson just for it to repeat from last year.
I feel like Patrick Gitter has been too strong today not to win the race, so we'll take the 21 as well. But we'll see. Nolan gets a good jump. It's going to get him out to the solo lead. Now, what he's got to do
jump.
Here,
catastrophic jump.
Now, these guys are going to close in quick because he is too far ahead. The draft's going to get to him. So he's got to watch his mirror. He's got to throw the block. Can he get down to the 22? No, he's going to stay high. That may give the lead to the 22. That run is strong enough to get clear into the lead, and he does. So now, control of the race, Alex Murray. And he's got Root pushing him. Now they're going to go 2 wide for second.
Hodson's going to collect the front bumper of Gitter, which is the best bumper you're going to be able to get in this race with how fast he is, but there's nowhere to go with it there as now we're gridlocked, and talked about it earlier. We're 2 by 2. Someone's going to have to squeeze a 3 wide here if we're going to make anything happen, because there's not any space to navigate here in this 2 by 2 formation. The name of the game is who's going to do it. Murray has been the one to do it. He's up front. You don't squeeze a 3 wide when you're leading. It's going to have to be someone behind him.
2 by 2 looking like the New Jersey Turnpike at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, and we now have another new competitor.
Oh, 3 wide.
Yep, this is going crazy.
Oh boy.
Van de Sant, that's 98 of Gunnings, but our pole sitter Tanner Marty, he's squeezing himself right in the middle there. Down the back straightaway, only person in the middle of the sandwich. Oh, he might actually have a little bit of help. We do get back down to a more normal 2 by 2 situation, but look at what we have up front now. 6, 7 guys riding the wall by themselves. Now you have, that's the 98 of Guttingsman by himself down there to the inside. But all of a sudden, now we're wrapping the wall here with 5 laps to go. These guys, are they really going to time this thing to the last lap?
I'll tell you what, I think they will. They're going to wait till the last second. No need to cause a wreck right now. They're going to be, I think, comfortable at least for another lap or two, but Nolan did poke his nose low. It looked like he may have been considering an overtake. Didn't take it, though. He went back in line, so definitely a lot of thinking behind the wheel right now. These guys trying to decide, when should I make this move? How do I make this move? With Alex Murray, he's got the biggest question of all. How do I defend all of these cars? A little bit further back, the run. 3 wide, Patrick Gitter down the sucker hole. In the meantime, that blue line.
Trevor Ryan. And the 9 of Princeton. I think that should cause the yellow. There it is. Green, white checker on the tables, guys.
Oh, no. Alex Princeton. How did he get involved?
And Heitman as well. So a lot, basically, the fast guys, the guys who have dominated, led the most laps, no longer going to be charging this one down. Replay on screen. I don't know where we're going to be looking because a lot happened there, but we'll see something. You can see the 18 down to into oblivion there, and
someone in chat suggested that we were going to get 3 green-white checkers.
Or he was asking if that is the amount we have to offer. I believe that was more of it.
Okay, maybe he was asking. I took it more as he was kind of like, are we going to get 3? Well, now we might. We legitimately might.
Now this race, we do have to admit, this race has absolutely flown by. I mean, it doesn't feel like it, but this is the 9th caution of this race. It doesn't feel like nearly as much. And
yeah, Trevor Ryan hitting the incident limit, so he has incident out.
And this will be a green-white checkered, one of our 3 allotment.
So it's the 400 plus, 400 just plus. I guess we have to add a dead number race graphic.
For Trevor Ryan, it was the Hotlanta 399.
Nope, someone getting their lap back. That is the 8 of Russo. That'll put him back onto the lead lap. That'd be the 19th spot.
That's
there's
honestly,
the plus.
You know, being in 19th with what's about to happen, maybe not the worst place in the world to be.
Yeah, nope. This is setting up exactly like last year, Andre. Almost to a T.
Yeah, only difference is Damaris is unfortunately behind the wall, so no double down there, which is a bit of a shame here at Admin Motor Speedway, but nonetheless, this restart is going to be...
Look at Jim Schofield, by the way. He's got himself into the top 10. Haven't talked about him really much at all. Again, just guys who are just taking advantage, putting their cars in good situations, not, not risking things unnecessarily. And this is where it pays off in these attrition situations. Good run for him.
Yeah, he's definitely... I mean, he was leading the Rookie of the Year standings early in the season before Patrick Gitter just started pulling away with it. But Schofield, no slouch. He's been really good this year. Maybe he doesn't have the results to show the talent that he's got behind the wheel, but we know that talent is there, and I think right now definitely showing if he can cap off this race with a solid top 5. Look, I know everybody wants to win the race, and I understand, but with all the attrition we've had, all the accidents, if you finish this race, you're doing pretty well, right? I mean, we've got drivers, there's only 19 drivers on the lead lap. 36 started the race. I'm fairly certain there is only 23 cars on track right now. So we've had about 13 cars taken behind the wall. You get a top 10, top 5, you're having a good night.
Yeah, and don't look now, but Cameron Stone back on the lead lap here with 3 to go. So this could get very interesting, Andre. Obviously, his streak up to 673 days, I believe. So he's going to be going for it.
He is. He's got a lot of cars to pass back there, but he's got a legitimate shot at it. Also, the guy in chat clarified he was asking, he wasn't suggesting. But he does say that, now we're going to knock out 1 green and white checkered, so maybe the other 2 are coming. I agree. I think maybe at least 1 more, but we'll have to see. Maybe they'll surprise us. Maybe they'll get through clean. it is going to be Murray and RJ trying to figure it out. You've got a hungry Nolan Hodgson, hungry for corn, hungry for a win. And Chad Gunningsman, the pole sitter, he's finally worked his way. Where has he been this whole race? He's back up here. Green flag in the air. And it's going to be a good jump on the outside, but you got to learn from Nolan's mistakes. Don't get too good of a jump because you will lose that lead in a heartbeat. Looks like RJ is going to pull up to his bumper. Not going to make the pass quite yet. Third place, Nolan Hodgson. And the outside lane falling quick.
Van de Sant goes to the outside as the top 3. Oh, we're gone.
Oh, that's a lot. That's a lot of cars.
That is per our chat viewer there, queuing our second green-white checkered here at Atlanta, as Carlos has addendum the race name with an additional plus. As we're going to try to run this one for a 500-miler like the good old days, I suppose. But replay on screen, it looks like basically a carbon copy of last time. Someone went high, someone went low. Looks like more drivers involved that time. And
all right, but my question is, where was Randy Drumhiller in all of this?
Still 2 laps down, but I don't see any damage. So yeah, he evaded it just fine. He just scooched by on the high lane. And he can't get his laps back, but he's still getting the spots here as Schofield and Gunningsman have already retired or incidented it out.
The driver who swept the stages gets a hit to the door, and that's going to be a rather large impediment.
Callie here in chat going for Nolan. Nolan has his.
So this is, this is.
Oh, there goes Randy. He's getting a lap back. One more
lap
checker. He's on the lead lap.
He's dropping the hammer, Harry.
And we still have an opportunity for one more green-white checkered. And if it's anything like that last one, we're going to get it.
Yeah, that was a lot of cars. I would think that the likelihood of a wreck now is substantially less. There's a lot of drivers involved, which also, by the way, has opened the door to Brandon Pierce to get back inside the top 10 after he was nose first into the wall. We thought he was day done. Well, here he is inside the top 10. Don't know what his incident count is. I'd assume a lot of drivers up here are getting close, but he's back up here. You've got Tracy in the 33. I don't think we've said Tracy's name once all night. Here he is inside the top 10, bordering on a top 5. This is going to be, it's been a lot of fun restarts, but this is going to be a real fun one.
Yeah, remember, we just have to get to the white flag. If we get to the white flag, we can have everybody in the field upside down, and it won't mean anything. We will finish it under green, but if a caution does come out on the first lap of the green-white checker, we will dig into our hat and pull the third one out, and that will be the final one in one way or another here. Track temp finally has come below 100 degrees, just as a little tidbit of information, down to 96 here as we are still not even at 6 o'clock virtual time here. So again, only about less than a 3-hour race here, even with the overtime. So per standards, a pretty brisk one here at Atlanta Motor Speedway, but the lights are out and we'll get them racked and stacked and try this one more time, guys.
A lot of overcast too. I mean, the sun is no longer baking the track. I'd imagine the temp's gone down rather substantially, which may be adding to the boldness these drivers have. They feel like they got a little bit more grip. They want to make some aggressive moves, and that's not always a good combo. But either way, we're going to double them up. We're going to get ready to do it again. Hopefully make it to the end, but if we don't, we got one more green-white checkered to attempt. We don't want to make it the Hotlanta 400 plus, which is quite the mouthful of a race name at this point. But lights are off on the pace truck. We're going to be going around to the start-finish line, and it's still going to be Murray who's in control of the race. RJ Root on the inside. Owen Hodgson, basically the same old story from the last restart. 21's a little bit further back because he did get caught in the sucker hole. Lost some position, but here we go. Rolling out of turn 4. The pace truck is going to hopefully not do another one of his Takumi Fujiwara drifts. Just pull nice and smooth down to the infield, down to the pit road. We're going to end caution number 10. Take the green flag. slow and steady, trying to back the field up. And there he goes, a good launch with the 22. He's going to get clear into the lead.
Oh, same thing as Hodgson. That's going to be way too big of a jump. Well, actually, no. RJ Root, he'll drop down to the bottom there, and somebody's flailing that back there, the back of the pack, but we are just fine. 45 and 22 lock bumpers here. Van de Sant's going to close on in. Hodgson going all the way to the back there. No one to work with him. But here comes Gitter with a power run to the inside.
Don't look on his back bumper now, but Cam Stone is pushing. He's going to get up there and help get Patrick Gitter back side by side.
Look at the surge from the inside, the turbo horsepower move. No, turn up there. Is that going to bring a caution out? No.
Caution flag flies just a mere foot before the start-finish line.
Cam Stone is leading this race.
Yeah, that was a hard push. Definitely. We'll try and queue up a replay of it. That may have been a little much.
Oh, he turned him. Oh, he turned him there. To quote DW at Richmond 2008. Oh, there's no other way to say it. He turned him.
Yeah, I mean, he turned him. Unfortunately, Brandon Pierce, I think Brandon Pierce might have hit the incident limit in that.
After the caution was out.
What?
No, he's still on track, so he just blinked, I guess.
So Cam Stone leading this race. I mean, the day counter is like 670 or something like that. But we haven't seen the leader of these restarts be faring very well. And we don't know what is the damage situation on his car. Is he back to where he needs to be? And that's the Drumhammer getting back on the lead lap here. 15th spot.
Yeah, Randy Drumhiller back on the lead lap, Andre. There you go.
Oh my goodness. The Drumhammer back at it again. He's got the golden horseshoe, buddy.
So we were also told, due to language concerns, that there's a temporary pause on Cam Stone's media privileges. So if he wins this race, we're actually not allowed to talk to him. So
yeah, that would be that would be the most Cam Stone thing ever. You know, he finally wins. He finally wins, and we can't interview him because he's lost media privileges. That is literally the story of Cam's life in this league.
It's like winning a scratch ticket, and then immediately your house burns down, so you can't even get to like enjoy any of the money.
But hey, don't look now. There's some more surprises in the top 10. Alex Van de Sant, Nolan Hodgson, Rob Tracy.
Yeah, Tracy. I haven't talked about him.
Tanner Marty, Bobby Anderson, and Andrew Russo are in the top 10 right now. So this has a potential to really provide a surprise winner here today.
What I find really amusing about this is, when you look at the top 10, there is there's 4 drivers that have been sliding through the infield at one point or another, and here they are with a chance for a win.
So if you're Cam Stone, are you basically preying upon life that they wreck like right at the start-finish line so this is over? Or do you actually want this to go down and try to get it the semi-authentic way and get it at the checkers?
I don't think Cam really cares. I think, a win's a win. He wants to break the streak. If they wreck immediately, all the better for him. He's probably going to be really annoyed because, he can't give an interview. But nonetheless, at least he will have broken the streak and maybe locked himself into the playoffs.
Yeah, and I just can't believe the racing we've been provided. Up until this point, it's been some great racing, and we're going to be here for the last 3 laps of this and hope for more impressive racing.
19 lead changes here on the evening with 11 cautions for 32 laps. Will any of those metrics be altered in the last 2 laps? Well, we'll find out together. Cam Stone with the kind of the spin and win there to an extent there, get her out of the way, got the lead on the restart, and we'll take them down. But RJ Root is hungry. Van de Sant has been through the infield many a times here on the evening, but still in 4th. And Hodgson has been in a good spot. But on the loud pedal is Cam Stone. Gets that good jump, and not too good of a jump. That's probably the perfect situation you could be in if Van de Sant can get to his back bumper. they're going to lock bumpers into 1 and 2.
Yeah, that was exactly what he wanted. He doesn't want to get too big of a jump, but Van de Sant can't quite get to his bumper.
There's
It's
the blocking
gonna be
game.
a huge run from RJ Root, and a big bump. Can Cam
Oh.
keep the car straight? I
He
don't
blocked
know.
him
He's got
once,
a
he
big
blocked him
push.
twice. He's not going to get away with the 3rd time.
No, one of these guys is going to go around, and I think it's going to be
It's
Cam.
him.
He's blocking. Cam's loose. Big wreck
That's
to
the
the
race.
line.
That's the race. 3rd time. It's over.
Hodgson is being
Hodgson.
scored, but it might have been Root.
Or Root. Now it's going back to Root.
I think it was Root.
Yeah, scoring has it as Root there. No, we're not going to finish this on the green. We're not going to get another attempt at it. But I think we're trying to queue up here on the replay maybe the moment of caution and who will, what the gap was there at the call.
So there was Cam spinning the 21.
Yeah, we're back a little bit far on the replay, but we will scour on through it. Yeah, it was certainly Root there. There was not really much question on that.
A little bit of an overcorrection. Yeah, I mean, it was probably Root, but Nolan was not far behind.
Because by the time that Hodgson got the lead, they had already crossed the stripe, which at that point it would have continued to finish it out. But that's it.
So
that's the
Root
race.
wins the race.
And there's going to be some happy drivers after this race. You think so, guys?
There's one happy driver. The rest of them maybe not so.
Oh yeah,
much.
here they are. They're kerfuffling.
Uh-oh. You
Is that
can't
nice
do that.
kerfuffling, or is that?
You can't do that.
Yep, that is
what did he
post-race
do?
violation.
There's like 3 drivers that may be sat out next week. Post-race conduct is a pretty strict rule.
What did he do? I didn't see him do anything that was sketch.
I mean, no, RJ Root didn't do anything throughout the race that caught my eye as being bad.
Well, a smaller field allowed might be a better race for everybody based on what you guys have said prior experiences have been like. But we'll deal with that next week, and post-race follies will accrue, and we'll talk to a couple of these guys. But we'll see what RJ Root does for his first win of 2023. Burn down the Atlanta grass here at the Quaker State that's the real life race. The Atlanta 400 plus.
So I know what was happening. Those were
Celebratory?
those were RJ's teammates, and they were trying to congratulate him, but because they went overboard, that might actually be a rule infraction. Because I'm looking at the Discord, and it was the Prodigy drivers. So, look,
Get yourself suspended for a week because you were saying congrats. That's a good way to go.
it's actually not the first time that's happened either. We've had drivers banned for congratulating and getting a bump. Not banned, but sat out.
And to be honest, Andre, I'm not too surprised about how that started and who it was. Don't want to bring biased commentary in here, but yeah, not too surprised there.
Yeah, we'll see. Maybe the admin will cut him a little bit of slack because they didn't total the car. We'll have to wait and see. But he is burning the thing to the ground. He's making sure there's no engine to take back to the R&D shop. Pretty happy about that one. That's a very RJ win, reminiscent of his Bristol win on the dirt a little while back. Feeling pretty happy about that one, probably. Getting the win, locking himself into the playoffs. And I believe he got stage points in both stages, too, so a really good day for RJ.
Yeah, good run for him, but I think we can go down and start our post-race show here. But before we do that, let's go ahead and run down through the final running order here today at Atlanta. RJ Root with that great win there. Nolan Hodgson, a great run, almost snuck it out. Gets the second. Matt White third. Alex Van de Sant, he was all over the place today, but gets a top 5. Bobby Anderson sneaks a top 5 out of there quietly. Good run for Rob Tracy and Tricks. Pat Gitter led a lot of laps, has to suffer for a 7th. Tanner Marty, Clayton Hoffman, and Andrew Russo round out our top 10.
And looking just outside the top 10, we've got the Drumhammer back on the lead lap. What a run for him. Matt DiCiani sweeps the stages, unfortunately brings it home outside the top 10. Cameron Stone, P13. Well, you know, he gave the bad bump. He got the bad bump. I suppose that's karma. Alex Murray is going to finish 22nd. A little bit disappointing. He had a lot of speed in that 22. Matt Long, Brandon Pierce, Alex Princeton, Jeremy Miller, and the final two in the top 20, if the graphic scrolls, is going to be, drum roll please, it is going to be Chad Gunningsman, the pole sitter, and Jim Schofield.
21st, Derek Heitman. 22nd, Trevor Ryan. 23rd, Dustin Hall. 24th, Kenny Powell. 25th, Damaris Hickenbottom. 26th, Jonathan Delaney. 27th, Sean O'Brien Jr. 28th, Jedi Taylor. 3 of the Apex drivers. Kevin. 29th, Adam Benefield. 30th, Dalton Mobley. And to round out the field, Andrew Dyson, 31st. Mike Christopher, 32nd. Mark Pageant, 33rd. Wayne Grassy, 34th. Jamie Knopf, 35th, and Neil Pearson, 36th.
All right, with that, we're going to get into some post-race interviews. I'm going to hand Matt White, third-place driver, over to Cody Bird.
Matt White, this is Cody up in the booth. You got a copy?
Gotcha. How you doing?
I'm probably feeling about the same way you are after that finish. Walk us through all of the 3 of the green-white checkers there at the end.
I mean, it was just attrition. I mean, it was wreck, and I had gotten involved in a wreck, and I was like, I'm just gonna hold her down and pray we go somewhere, and then we just came through there at the end, and then RJ and Cam got together, and that wasn't very good, and you know, but I'm glad that RJ got a win, and just happy to sneak a third out of this whole deal.
Now, throughout the race, it looked like it was side-by-side racing, looking like the interstates throughout Minnesota. What was your game plan all through that? And we even saw you go through the infield, so I'm sure it was a wild race throughout before the green-white checkers.
Yeah, the game plan was just to stay up front if I could, but if not, I'm just right in the back. Van der Sant fell off the lead, so me and him teamed up there at the end of the stage 1. You know, to front him back so he doesn't go lap down because he's my teammate. And then, when I went to the grass, I just engaged 4 high and had the lock in already, and jump.
Now we approach here. We're getting close to the playoff time here. Obviously, there's some tracks upcoming. Are there any that you're looking forward to make that playoff push?
Yeah, I mean, I'm looking at New Hampshire. I think next week's track is a track that I really enjoy. A lot of the normal ovals, but I'm also looking forward to some more road racing. I'm trying to get better at it, so hopefully I can have a better showing there. That'll really tell me if I'm really good for the playoffs or not.
Well, congrats on your 3rd place finish, and we look forward to hopefully talking to you next week.
All right, thank you so much, Cody.
So a good run for Matt White. He definitely needed that good finish, and that he got. We're going to have a word with 2nd place Nolan Hodgson. He's with Corey.
All right, Nolan, you led some laps. You were in position there at the very end, but the runs just didn't go your way. Maybe if that caution came out a little bit later, you could have raced it back to the line, but had to settle for a second. But still a great run for you. Just kind of summarize those last few restarts up for me.
Well, I mean, it's just a combination of everybody wanting everything immediately, you know, because the overtime restarts are crazy, especially at a super speedway where the inside line is so dominant off of restarts. Everybody wants to be there, and obviously not everybody can be there all at the same time, and you know, it's rough because, you know, you restart on the outside, and unless you got somebody to work with, you're losing 4 or 5 spots, and I feel like that's pretty much what spelled my race. I tried pushing RJ to the end there, try to get some sort of run, but I don't know, the bumper cam is what the difference was in the end there, so it's heartbreaking.
Yeah, it stinks to be so close, but you know, it's obviously good to get that good run, man. But we talked to a few guys over the course of the race, and we saw for the most part until the very end there, this looked like a very clean race, but I'll tell you, a lot of these guys in their interviews seemed very unhappy with kind of what was going on track with, you know, checkups and, you know, reactions to it and whatnot. What was your take on the overall race? Did you have any real issues out there, or was it a pretty good show for the most part overall for you?
Well, I mean, for the most part, it was pretty normal. It's just those few people who, if gap car, pretty much, type of motivation there. If you leave an inch open between you and the wall, or an inch open between you and the car on the inside, there will probably be someone there, and you don't realize it, and then you almost wreck because of it, and you go to the back of the field because of it, and it's very annoying that no matter what super speedway, it happens all the time, and the checkups I can live with, because like I said, that happens on all the super speedways. But I don't understand the people who on lap like 71 are just like, oh, there's a half-inch gap for my car to fit through. Yeah, that's where my car is gonna go. I don't care if I wreck half the field.
Yeah, well, that is the exact sentiment that everybody else said, so I guess it was pretty much a unanimous thought, man. But we'll see what happens. Loud in a completely different ball game next week. You won't have the same incidents, but you'll have a certainly different ball game to have there. We'll see how you do there. Congrats on a good run.
Thank you.
And now straight to victory circle. Andre has caught up with the winner of the 45 of RJ Root.
Mr. Root, you got a copy?
I got you guys.
Well, RJ, you were up front pretty much all night long. You just had to have the cards fall in your favor, which they didn't for a lot of drivers, but right place, right time, and walking away with the trophy. Tell me a little bit about it.
I got to apologize to Cam. I mean, I saw we get a huge gap going down the backstretch, and my whole goal was to just stay on Cam and just try to keep us away from the pack. And that bump coming out of turn 4, just, I don't know if it got him messed up or if it got me messed up and I accidentally hooked Cam. I feel horrible about it because Cam really helped me out last year and has been a pretty good mentor to me. But I'm so glad to finally get back into victory lane.
Yeah, I could definitely. I mean, your celebration was, we could tell you were pretty stoked about this one, and getting yourself locked into the playoffs, having a really good points day. You got stage points in both stages too. Next week we're going to New Hampshire. It's a different style of racing. How you feel about going to New Hampshire?
I love New Hampshire. I was running second last year until I got black flagged on a restart, but eating pretzel M&Ms yeah, I'm really excited to get back to a track that you got a break at, and just stoked right now.
Absolutely. Now, one last question I got to ask you, because so many cars did not finish this race, and the drivers who did finish generally didn't get out unscathed. That 45 is looking pretty clean. How were you able to avoid a lot of the carnage that we saw tonight? I mean, was it just trying to put yourself in the perceived safest place throughout the run and then make the move right at the end, or was it just kind of the fact of being up front that kept you safe, you think?
It was really just being up front and being on the outside. Sorry. But being behind Gitter for over half the race was huge, because me pushing Gitter was able to keep the inside line away from us, so there wasn't any chance of getting caught up in anything when the top 2 cars on the outside are ahead of the first car on the inside line.
Definitely the case. Well, again, it was a great points day. Congratulations on another win in 100% Cup Series. What does that make, 3 now, RJ?
Yes, it is.
All right, so you're up to 3 wins, and hopefully going to keep on adding to them. We'll catch you next week, RJ.
I want to shout out Brandon Lasers and all the sponsors over at Prodigy, and my girlfriend for enduring through this entire race.
All right, a big shout out to the sponsors, and again, thank you for your time, RJ.
Thank you.
And that is going to do it for our post-race coverage here at Atlanta Motor Speedway. Relatively quick race for a super speedway. We had a lot of cautions, but they went by pretty quick, and overall definitely didn't leave us wanting for action. I guess I will have to kind of get you guys' post-race thoughts. Start with you, Cody.
Yeah, definitely an interesting race through and through. Definitely saw some comers and goers throughout the race, and provided us a treat at the end with the side-by-side racing and action.
Yeah, kind of offered exactly what I hoped. Some good, clean racing for the most part, but in true plate race style, kind of get what you get. But in the end, good to see a new driver in the victory lane this season and a new playoff spot birthed.
That it is. Well, we will catch you next week at New Hampshire. Well, I won't catch you. Me and Cody will be on hiatus as we're going to an event in real life. But I believe that is a race that Carlos and I think Jeffrey Souza's, he might be scheduled for. I don't know. We'll figure it out. But it is going to be broadcast here on 100%, and should be fun. New Hampshire is definitely a unique race in this league, from what I've seen. So we'll catch you then.